When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
We were all set to lead the show today for the first time, I feel like in months. We were not going to lead with college football. We were firing.
Don't lie to me.
No, I'm not lying to you. We were going to fire Darvin Ham. It was going to be awesome. And then the Florida Attorney General sent a demand letter to the ACC Conference stating her desire to have all documents related to the ACC grant of rights. And there is an important stipulation in there we're going to get to in a minute. But I have to tell you, I do not understand why the Florida Attorney General is still involved in this. This thing with Florida State continues to be a black eye now, I think, on the entire face of college football, because you have a public entity, the Attorney General, quite literally, the lawyer that represents the citizens of the state of Florida, is now sending demand letters to the ACC, asking them to break a long-held process just so that Florida State can feel better about the situation that they're in. Jake, this feels like an incredible waste of time and money to me.
Absolutely. And I think the crazy thing about this situation is it just continues this cycle of, hey, we're upset about something, so we're going to demand a bunch of documents. We're going to sort of, puff our chest out and make a bunch of noise, and let's just see what happens. And ultimately, if we don't have any evidence and nothing comes of it, then we don't really care what damage might have been done. We don't really care what the side effects of our terrible behavior are, but we're just still going to do this and essentially hope for the best because we're politicians and attorney generals and people who hold office, and we need to use this opportunity to push our own brand up. And that's really what I feel like this is. This is, whether it's your governor, your attorney general, your senator, whoever you want to point to in the state of Florida has gotten involved in this thing one way or the other. And it just bothers me that politicians waste their time over and over again on something that, frankly, is a tiny grain of sand on a beach of an issue compared to the bigger things in life.
Yeah, and I continue to feel like this is not about Florida State versus the ACC. It's wild to me. The first thing I want you to look at, this is the press release that we got this afternoon from the Florida Attorney General's office. You'll notice here that this is the ACC's refusal to produce the agreements. Attorney General Moody sent a public records request demanding executed copies of multiple media agreements between ACC and the ESPN, executed copies of the 2014 amended multiple media agreement, executed copies of the grant of rights, any other executed agreements referred to as ESPN agreement, and any other executed agreements between ACC and the Walt Disney Company. Now, maybe I am just, again, I'm Aaron Rodgers all over.
Right.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. But why are you using ESPN everywhere? And then when we really get to the balls of the issue, you change that to the Walt Disney Company. And I would go back and remind you that the state of Florida and the Walt Disney Company are locked in a very, very, nasty is putting it politely, public relations battle that is really threatening the tax and revenue in Orlando and in the Disney district. And it has been ugly. It has been vitriolic. It has been personal. Any word that you want to use. And now all of a sudden the Florida Attorney General, who by all accounts has done a good job since she took office, Ashley Moody is her name, now all of a sudden is going after Disney related to Florida State and the ACC. And this goes back to all of the YouTube comments we've gotten, all of the tweets I got last night about how Florida State never agreed to the amendment that lengthened the grant of rights in the ACC. That seems to be what most Florida State fans are where they're perched over this battle for what they say is their very ability to compete at the highest levels in college football.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the issue. That extension that Florida State supposedly never agreed to and no ACC members voted on. Well, the funny thing is you forget that that was part and parcel of the original grant of rights and the original deal with ESPN. And who triggered that extension? Was it ESPN? It was not. It was the ACC and its members wanting to build the ACC network, which then triggered the extension to make it worthwhile financially for ESPN. So we could sit here and play these word games where, well, we never agreed to that. Nobody voted on that. Well, you signed the contract that had the provision that if ESPN creates the ACC network, the grant of rights is extended. And there's no way out of this, which is why when you look at the language and the inflammatory language that A.G. Moody uses here, and you read this in the press release says, Attorney General Ashley Moody today sent a public records request to the ACC demanding that the college athletics organization immediately turn over public records currently being withheld from Florida State University. Now, again, I would remind you, no records are being withheld from Florida State. What Florida State and what the Attorney General are doing here is wordsmithing, because the way it works in the ACC, and why, I don't know, but it's been a long-held process in the conference that up until now everybody has agreed to, where if you want to review the grants of rights and related documents, you have to go to the ACC headquarters. And attorneys for almost every ACC member have done that repeatedly. ACC school presidents have done that. Everybody agrees, hey, we're going to go to the ACC headquarters to review this grant of rights and the media deals. Now, all of a sudden, you're intentionally withholding? No, they're not. You just don't like the rules and how they're applied to you. This is a nothing burger. This is a situation where Florida State doesn't have a remedy for their problem. So now they're going to use all of their available resources, which apparently includes the attorneys general of Florida, and they are going to demand. Now, I would also note to you, this isn't a lawsuit. It doesn't have teeth. Yes, it's the Florida attorney general. It has teeth. Is it the end of the world? Is it going to change the direction of Florida State's lawsuit against the ACC? It's not. Is Florida State going to get out of the ACC? Maybe. Is the ACC in a position where maybe they negotiate an exit? Sure. Is Florida State going to go to court and win a case against the ACC? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. And I, again, just point back to what now many sources have said to us. Find me a place where a school is sued and gotten out of a grant of rights. Well, they haven't. And you can't, because it's never happened.
Yeah, and I just think that this is Michigan 2.0. This is, hey,
I would agree with that.
We don't like the fact that we don't have a solution to what we deem a problem. So we're going to create a problem. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street, right? Hey, your job is to do X, and to do that, you got to do Y. Well, Florida State Attorney General feels like it's her job to, I guess, create an issue. So the way she's going to do that is demand a bunch of documents that she very clearly has access to. So that's what I think is so surprising. And that's what I think we as sports observers, if you will, like you, us on the show, like everybody who's watched this situation, like you have to pay attention to what they're really saying. Because I agree, this is wordsmithing 2.0. Like
it's all it is.
This is exactly what we saw out of the Michigan situation when they tried to go to court. In fact, I would say this is a lot of what we saw in the Pac-12 situation when they went to court. Like huff and puff our chest and, really, oh my God, the world's ending. And then when we get down to it, nobody has a great answer to, well, if you don't like what the agreement says, why'd you sign it? Nobody has a great answer to that. Nobody can prove that you were at gunpoint when you signed the contract, because we all know you weren't.
It is a very simple case of contract law. That's all this is. And I think that's a very good point you make there. Where's the duress? Where is the, hey, homie was holding my daughter hostage, so I signed the grant of rights? Or where is that?
Where's the example of, you were tricked. Because that's the other angle that I think, a certain sector of Seminole Nation's trying to run out there, that, oh, well, there was, this secret agreement between ESPN and the ACC, and we never signed off on that, even though it's in the grant of rights and you signed off on it. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's in the document. And I think so often nowadays, and I think you pointed this out on this or on Michigan, where it's like, hey, did you not read the document? Like, did you not go, okay, first word here, last word here, what's everything in between say?
Well, and I'll just say again what I said yesterday. Okay, there's two questions here, and both of them are poorly directed for Florida State in terms of trying to win this. Because I'll also remind you, there's no winner no matter what happens in that courtroom. The ACC is going to lose. Florida State's going to lose no matter what the ruling is.
Mm-hmm.
So my two questions for Florida State. Did you read the grant of rights that you signed? Yes, I did. Okay, was there a gun to your head? Was there any duress? Because they can't prove duress. So, yeah, you did. Okay, I move for an immediate directed verdict in our favor. No, I did not read the grant of rights, and I signed it. Move for an immediate, like there's no, you either read it and signed it, or you didn't read it and you signed it, because nobody said it was forged. Nobody has claimed there was any kind of strong arming. And truly at the end of the day, and I've heard this from a couple of people now, and I think it rings true. It makes a lot of sense to me. I don't even believe that Florida State is trying to get out of the grant of rights. I think they are trying to find a way to afford their buyout of the grant of rights. I think because the one thing that you keep hearing about, it's $500 million. It's $500 million. They want that to be, $250 million. They want that to be $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue is, I think a lot of people forget this. Understand how grant of rights work. The grant of rights is not between Florida State and ESPN. The grant of rights is between Florida State and the ACC, who then signs a deal with ESPN to be the home of ACC sports and the ACC network. And so you're suing the ACC, and what the attorneys general of Florida is trying to do is turn up the heat on the Walt Disney Company. And I would note they have a very, very open line of communication between the Attorney General of Florida and the Walt Disney Company, thanks to this ridiculousness in the developmental district at Disney in Orlando.
Dude, the grants of rights, again, literally says that, hey, we, Florida State, sign this agreement granting our rights to the ACC, our television and distribution rights to the ACC to go out and do a deal that we already knew was ESPN when we signed the grant of rights. Because let's be very clear on how that process works as well. Because I think a lot of people like to say, oh, well, the ACC, just went to whoever. I mean, yeah, ESPN's cool, but Florida State had no idea. Florida State and everybody else in that conference damn well knew what the distribution model was going to be before they signed their grant of rights. Yep. We all remember how the Pac-12 negotiations went. Like, this is not a new process, which is the other thing that I want to point out here. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, something went awry here. This was a different process. Like, someone was tricked or something came out of left field. It's like, no, it's not.
You got these grant of rights are not complicated. They're not complicated. A lot of them are very similarly worded. It's simply the things that you need to understand are, how long is it? What's it going to cost me to get out? And what's it going to cost me to get my rights back? Because those three things are unique. The term of the contract, because that's what it is. This is a contract. How long is the contract? What is it going to cost me financially? Because when you break a contract, whether it's a retail purchase contract on a home, whatever you want to call it. If I break this contract, what is it going to take for the ACC to feel whole by my action? So what am I going to have to pay the ACC to get out? And what am I going to have to pay ESPN? Because you got to remember, this is also the case here. You have to pay to get your rights back. It's a grant of rights. So you have to pay the parties who are being damaged by your action.
So getting out of the conference is different than getting your rights back.
Correct.
Which nobody seems to understand.
Correct. And that I just continue to go back and say all of these grant of rights are very simple documents. It's simply a matter of the variables and the length and the term, all those. We try to make these things out to be the Encyclopedia Britannicas of documents, and they're not. Is there confusing language? Sure, if you're not a lawyer. But if you're a lawyer, this is not confusing. And I will just continue to ask the most simple of questions. Why has the Attorney General of Florida not sued Florida or not sued the ACC with Florida State? Because Florida State filed a lawsuit. The Attorney General of Florida has not. So I'm just asking, if this is such a crime being committed,
such a slam dunk case in your favor,
and there are all of these things that the ACC is doing behind closed doors, committing frauds, and hey, we never agreed and nobody signed or agreed, and ESPN and Disney and the ACC are in bed together to screw the state of Florida. Well, why hasn't the Attorney General filed suit against the ACC?
And I'm confused, too, because, 2 weeks ago it was, hey, the college football playoff and ESPN are in bed to screw Florida. So now it's the college football playoff. Now it's the ACC. Like, I'm getting confused as to how many people are trying to screw Florida and why they'd be so motivated to do that.
It's $500 million. I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the world, but that seems like a lot of money. And my guess is Florida State's trying to figure out how to lessen that blow. Just my guess, man. That would be my guess. I'm burnt out on it. I'll be honest with you. These lawsuits that are, hey, I don't like the rules when they're applied to me, so I'm going to sue now, are ridiculous. And what happens every time? Pac-12. What happened? Well, black and white. And we told you there's no way that either judge was going to side with the exiting 10 members. I told you that point blank on this show. We talked to people. We knew what the language was. Like, there was no way this was going to happen. Guess what happened? Yeah, the Pac-2 won.
And what was so incredible is that the legal team for the 10 who left was so committed to the unfair argument that was their only argument, which seems to be Florida State's only argument.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
I look at Michigan and the temporary restraining order to stop Jim Harbaugh from being suspended. Right up until the fact, and I again, like I said yesterday, what was the judge who was going to hear this at Michigan? A former Michigan football player who was a graduate of the Michigan School of Law, who was on the bench in Michigan, was the person that was going to hear that temporary restraining order. Feel really good about that, right? Yeah, until you pulled it because the evidence was overwhelmingly against you. And then in this Florida situation, Florida State's suing the ACC. Who's the judge that's going to hear that? A Florida State alumni is going to hear that case.
But how surprised or not surprised would we be if on the day of Florida State pulls out of the suit? Because I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason the ACC filed a countersuit. And I that's why I go back to, why hasn't the Attorney General of the state of Florida sued?
Oh, that's right, because attorney generals don't make it a habit of taking cases or executing cases they can't win.
And you can't win this. Nobody at Florida State, nobody at the ACC, nobody has told me this or said this aloud, but you didn't sue to get in front of a judge, which happens in this country all the time. You may not realize that, but the vast majority of lawsuits that are filed never go before a judge. Usually they're withdrawn or settled, whatever you want to call it. That's what this is. Florida State wants a settlement. They want to get out.
Yeah.
And they want to pay less to get out. That would be my guess. And I just think this thing with Florida State versus the ACC, the other question I would ask is, where the heck is Florida State going to go? Because this is not how you ingratiate yourself with other conferences. Because you didn't win. You were upset about the college football playoff, which is where this Florida State Attorney General got involved in the first place. So And now we're in a place where we're looking at Michigan versus Washington, and it's very clear to most people the 4 best teams got in, and there's not a chance in the world that Florida State would have beaten Washington, and there's less a chance that they would have beaten Michigan. So, again, I just ask, where is the wrong? Where is the injustice? And my sneaking suspicion is there is not an injustice.
Nope.
There is not. All right. Less of us, more of you. I appreciate you guys letting us bloviate, if you will.
Yeah.
About are you in the comment section real quick? Are you guys tired of these? Frivolous is not the right word, but these hollow lawsuits, because all of them are hollow. And
They're smoke. That's it.
Much to the credit of the Pac-12, the 10 exiting members, you actually showed up for a fight. Now, you showed up to a gunfight carrying a knife, not your best choice, right? They had no way to fight in that fight.
Well,
but you went to court not once, but twice, and you lost.
I mean, I just can't believe, like, we have yet to see a legal team for the person suing, like, come up with anything good, which is so surprising to me. I mean, I'm not a legal professional, right? Like, I'm not, but it made no sense to me, and it still makes no sense to me, whether I look at FSU, Michigan, or the Pac-10, the 10 who left trying to get that worked out. You didn't make any type of defense, and I feel like it just the concept and idea of, hey, yeah, sure, legally, like on paper, this case is about the facts of the case, as we all love to say. But the reality is, like, trials and, court hearings are hardly just about what's on paper. And so when you're in contract law disputes, like, you have to bring context that's off the piece of paper. So unfair is never going to get it done. And I think the point about the AG not suing yet or not joining that suit, it exemplifies that. You don't have a way to win this to the point where the person that you're leaning on to fight for you won't take the fight. And so that's why I say they are hollow. We are living in an age where people just want to say that you're this and you're that. And, like, it's just amazing to me that you would go through all this trouble for what? Meanwhile, people in your state are struggling.
And at least, much to Michigan's credit, they're playing for a national championship through all of this BS.
Yeah. I mean, at least you're winning something.
And much to Washington's credit, because Washington, remember, was the tip of the spear. Right? Like, they were the ones. That was pretty good.
It was.
They were the ones representing the exiting 10 members. They're playing for a national championship. Maybe there is something to this lawsuit thing. File a lawsuit or a TRO, you lose, that's fine. We'll go play for a national championship. I remind you, both of them have their quarterbacks,
Yeah.
But
I am burned out on this strategy.
I totally am.
We've been seeing take place for, the better part of 6-8 months now. Like, we have nothing, but we don't like it, so we're gonna sue. And yeah, the Pac-10 showed up, I guess, and that's fine and dandy. But what would you rather do? Not show up to your court date and lose, or
I'd rather be the Pac-10. I'd rather be the exiting 10 members, because Michigan embarrassed themselves.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
and even for them, they had a Michigan alumni on the bench.
They had a Michigan football player on the bench.
Holy crap, dude.
And they still pulled out, which I probably should have. Anyway, the point is,
see what he did there is pull out, and it's okay. All right, continue.
Over your head, wrong one. All right, let's get your comments in here on the Monty Show. And again, I want to say thank you to everybody who's here. You guys have been amazing supporting the show. Somebody asked us the other day about our subscribers, and they're like, yeah, I remember you guys. What were you guys at? 9,000. So what do you guys do? 20, 30? No, we're at 44,000. It's remarkable. And we appreciate you guys, because without you, we couldn't do what we do every day, whether we agree or disagree, or we're on the same side or different sides. I just appreciate that all of you guys are here. You comment, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. We've had 900 people watch the show in the first 25 minutes. If just half of you hit the like button, we'd be rolling. So please consider doing that. While I tell you that Bucked Up is amazing, you guys, before we get to your comments, the comment section presented by Bucked Up Energy. Awesome gym experience this morning. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you've seen it. Back benching, did incline barbell bench today, and then went over and did dumbbells, flat bench pressing, 75-pound dumbbells in each hand, like really developing. And then I went home and made the stupid decision to get on the scale. And I'm telling you, it was a revelation because I've lost all of my vacation weight already. And I give a lot of credit to Bucked Up, because not even the fact that, hey, you know what? It's Buckshot, which is a tremendous product. But I will tell you, this stuff right here is, whoa, sorry, Callum. This stuff right here is amazing. This is Callum Von Moger's pre-workout formula. It's called Aussie Fruit. I have the same one, but in pina colada, and it has made all the difference in the world. That benching, so I did 30 minutes of strength training and 20 minutes of cardio, and it was amazing. I burned almost 600 calories, and it's because the pre-workout has completely changed the way I work out now. I wasn't a pre-workout guy before the last week of December, and now I'm using it. I'm back to losing a ton of weight. I'm way stronger. I cannot tell you, before we went to LA for vacation over Christmas, I think I was doing 50-pound dumbbells, and I got really rigid about my supplements and my nutrition since we got back. I've lost 8 pounds. I am back on my creatine every single day, workout day or not. I beg you to build creatine. Whether you're a workout guy, you're never going to lift weights again, great. Creatine every single morning in your coffee. It doesn't taste like anything. So it's not going to change the taste of your vaunted vanilla latte cafe ice mocha shit. Put that creatine in your coffee. I put it in my oats. If I'm not working out, I put it in my oats. But I also use BCAAs from Bucked Up. I usually put it in my BCAAs, drink it while I'm working out. Makes all the difference in the world for your brain health. But man, do you lift better. Man, do you burn more calories when your core temperature and your heart rate's higher because of your pre-workout. I just can't tell you how good I feel. And I give it all to Bucked Up. I appreciate them. You get to buckedup.com. They have all kinds of free samples in the description of this show below. You can get 6 free samples of Buckshot. It is the best energy shot you're going to take. Green tea leaf extract, naturally sourced caffeine. Hook it up, buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off. And I will tell you, tomorrow is Giving Friday on the show. We're going to give away a $100 Amazon gift card every Friday, usually, and every Tuesday we do that. We were off Tuesday because some people...
what? Don't look at me, dude. Like, I was back. It's fine.
Yeah. But tomorrow on the show, we will give away a $100 Amazon gift card, and you will have to interact, as always, with our friends at Bucked Up. So hook it up. Shoot me a picture on Twitter or Instagram, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show, buckedup.com. Let's see. Christopher Shannon, what do you put on your oats? My oats are very simple. If I make them,
Monty's oats.
No, if I make them in the microwave, and my wife makes amazing stovetop oats, amazing. She uses like all kinds of stuff. My oats in the microwave are one serving of whole grain, whole rolled oats. I think they're called, I can't remember, Bob's Red Mill. I get them on Amazon. 1 scoop of those. I put a finger full of raw coconut. I generally will put a handful of fresh organic blueberries. I will fill it up with water, put it in the microwave, and then I'll put a tablespoon of peanut butter in there. And if I didn't work out that day, I will put my creatine into the oats, mix it up, done. And you guys, I think I've said this on the show 1,000 times. I am oats every single day. Every morning for breakfast, I have oats. I'm a huge believer in it. It helps me I'm not hungry until noon. If I eat oats at 7:45, which is when I try to eat breakfast every day, I am not hungry until noon 30. I didn't eat my lunch until 1 something today. So I'm telling you, it works. It absolutely works. Sean Rollins got the info. Thanks, Monty. You're welcome. Gumby Fresh Out. Uncle Monty still owes me a free PS5 from Black Friday. Don't believe that's true.
Yeah, that's not true, dude.
Don't
That's
believe
bullshit.
that's true. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's true.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, go ahead and file your empty lawsuit over a PlayStation.
Yeah, like you're the Florida Attorney General.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Jacob says, Boise State, it's a great day. Yeah, how about Boise State? Did you guys hear about that? Malachi Nelson,
Malachi.
the former, I believe he was number 1 overall in 2023 last year, went to USC taking a visit. And I think there's, and I'd have to go back and look, but I think he's probably 90-10 going to Boise State, which would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. Woodworth, what's up, my guy? Monty still owes us an Intellivision. You know, remember, God, you guys remember Coleco? Remember Atari? My God, that's amazing. What happened with him at Southern California? Well, Caleb Williams happened, and I think there had to be a personality conflict, although I will tell you, I heard from a couple of sources this week that Lincoln Riley is going to interview for NFL jobs. And we'll see. I think USC's in a fine spot.
Yeah.
I think they're in a fine spot. But if you're going to Boise State, there's a reason you're leaving SC, because you probably are not going to compete for that starting job.
Nope.
That'd be my guess. But that's me. Gumpy Fresh Out says, I usually have 5 lunches every day. Wait till we get to the non-sports stories 2 hours from now. There is massive, yes. There is massive fat guy news coming in 2 hours. And it's a revelation.
I'm a carb-eating motherfucker.
Oh, dude, it is a revelation. Absolutely a revelation. All right, let's go. Always good to start with a new YouTube member. His name is YouTube User.
Oh, nice name.
Appreciate you joining the program. You guys, we have 2 levels of membership, $1.99 a month for basic membership. $9.99 a month gets you into our Instagram members only group. It is a great group of dudes. Hook it up. Shaner, a member for 4 months.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go, Shaner. This attorney general lady is a jagoff. Thank you.
Thank you.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
Last night, I got a little worn out. I'll be honest with you. And it doesn't happen often as a perfect human being. But it happened last night in the comments section here on the Showgrum. All of the talk about how ESPN fixed the college football playoff, and they wanted Alabama in, and they wanted Florida State out. And I'm here to tell you, I am about 99% that that's just not the case. Having worked there, and I want to be fully transparent, I used to work at ESPN. I have a lot of friends who work at ESPN, and there is just as much division at ESPN over this as there is in this room, as there is over your, I don't know, our water cooler still a thing. I have a real hard time believing that ESPN was rooting for Alabama or Florida State or Georgia. I just don't see the benefit for them. And you look at the situation that they have now. Do they have 4 blue bloods in the college football playoff? Well, 3. I don't know that I'd go as far as call Washington a blue blood. But if ESPN was going to fix the college football playoff, I certainly believe that Washington would be on the outside looking in. Now, is it advantageous that Alabama's in? Sure it is. Texas, Michigan, absolutely. Look at the TV ratings we've seen all year. But, Jake, I have a real hard time believing ESPN had any input on the decision in the college football playoff.
And the reality of the situation is ESPN is really in a position where, yeah, of course they want to put the best TV ratings together. Of course, you know, it's their job to deliver audience. But when you think of a product like the college football playoff, everyone's going to be watching. Is it going to be less people if it's, a smaller school versus a bigger school? Yeah, maybe it's going to be less people, but ultimately ESPN doesn't need to go out and find 50 million people to watch a game, and that's why they wanted Alabama. You're still going to get crazy numbers during the college football playoff, whether that was Florida State or Alabama. Now, my opinion is that Alabama versus Michigan is a damn good matchup. It is a phenomenal matchup, a better matchup than Florida State would have been able to provide, in my opinion, given their, current circumstances with the injury report. So I just think this is a very straightforward, very, A plus B equals C type situation. Again, Florida State just isn't able to justify their place in the college football playoff. And the initial reaction, or the first thing everyone's thinking is, oh my God, 13-0 conference champion, they should automatically be in. No, they shouldn't automatically be in, because that's for next year. Right now, we have a group of human beings who apparently voted 6 to 8 times on this and went through a painstaking process to figure out that as a group, they all agree that Alabama was the better fit. And it's really that simple.
I think the funny part of this is, Florida State issued all of these statements and they were fired up that this was subjective. And how could it not be subjective when a bunch of human beings are sitting around a table arguing over college football? It's exactly what we do on this show every day.
Isn't that what we all wanted, right? Like during the BCS time, we were like, hey, we need a group of people to actually decide it. We have to be able to say, well, hey, this team is injured and this team can't do this or shouldn't justify that. Like, that's what we all wanted. And so this is a tale of, hey, Florida State fan and everyone in company is all pissed off that they suffered an untimely injury, because that's what this came down to. What no Florida State fan wants to talk about is everyone's pretty much said, hey, if you were 100% healthy and you were 13-0 and a conference champion, you'd have been in. Everyone has said that. You're not going to put Alabama in over 100% healthy ACC conference champ. But again, you had that injury. If this had been an injury to a safety, you'd still be in the college football playoff. But it's not. It's a season-ending injury to your best player, your most impactful player, the player that decides just how far you go. The player that decides whether you can compete against the best in the country. Without him, you can't. That's how much he matters.
I just don't think this is even a conversation. Is it? I mean, you look at the TV numbers from this past weekend, and if you're ESPN, I mean, are you happy that Alabama and Georgia had 17 million viewers? Yeah. But you also put Michigan number 1, and they only had 10 million viewers. Washington had 9 million viewers. Texas, who everybody else was griping about, only had 7.8 million viewers. Right? I look at FSU and Louisville; they had 7 million viewers. So why aren't you upset with Texas being in instead of Florida State? I don't know. I think you're only upset that Alabama's in because it's Alabama and it's the SEC. And hey, the SEC didn't deserve a place in the playoff. Well, yeah, they did. And I think one of the hard truths that a lot of people don't want to talk about in college football is whether you like it or not, you better learn to love it. The SEC is the best conference in college football. And how is that even arguable? How can you legit sit here and say that a one-loss Alabama conference championship team doesn't belong in the college football playoff? How are we having this argument about Alabama? You want to complain about Texas losing Oklahoma? Okay, great, let's do that. The thing that guts Florida State in that conversation, Alabama has what the committee said was the single best win of the season at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
How could it not be?
It's tough to take that away from Texas. That's also a feather in the cap of Alabama. And if you're going to put Alabama in, you're going to put Texas in. And again, I think that the single biggest argument here is you don't like the rule. Change the rule then. If you don't like the rule where they're allowed to consider injuries to your best players, change the rule.
And wouldn't it be a travesty if they didn't? I mean, if we had a situation where, a quarterbackless Florida State team's competing for a national championship, how does that help anybody? How does that, I just sit here and I say, look, man, the 4 best teams right here today got in. Just because you're undefeated in your conference champ, it really, honestly, is not helping you, because that says to the committee the ACC is soft, which it is. We all know that. The ACC is a one-team league every single year. 8 out of 10 years, it's already crowned Clemson. The other 2, Florida State decides to show up and play some football. That's what it's been. So let's not pretend that somehow the ACC is the SEC, where it's a really difficult schedule and their conference games are clearly better than your conference games. I mean, that's the thing that I can't get down with. All year long, what has Florida State said? We're better than you. We deserve more TV money. We're the best team in the country. Put us in, coach. And now, what have you done? You put up, and I'm not letting it go. You had an average-ass, mediocre performance against a really bad Clemson team at their place, and you barely scraped that thing out. And then you put on what was I mean, I don't even think in question the worst performance of the weekend in front of the committee in that championship game, and you expect to get in. No chance. No chance. And I'm telling you, this is yet another situation where the small group of people screams louder than the masses. I don't know anybody, honestly, in my circles, anybody that we talk to who's like, yeah, wow, Florida State, man, they should be in. I haven't heard someone legit in real life say that. I've only heard it on the Twitter machine or in the comments section. It's a classic barking dog story. And I understand if Florida State fan is upset, but if Alabama is so undeserving, why is Michigan shaking in their boots knowing that they have to play them?
Yeah, that was funny. I don't know how many people saw that. The video, we talked about it yesterday. Here's a video from the Michigan essentially family room where all the players, family, staff, friends were gathered for the announcement. Here's the moment they found out they had to play Alabama.
Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4?
I mean, just the gasp of horror.
Oh my.
The gasp of horror is hysterical. And I think that shows you the top half of the SEC, I think, is better than any other conference in the country. I look at Alabama and Georgia. I think either one of them could win the college football playoff.
I mean, that struck me as a professional football game, man. You're watching that game and you're like, dude, like, they're making these tiny, minute adjustments that have huge ramifications in game, in the moment. Like clock management matters more than ever. You know, possession of the football and not giving out free passes matters more than ever in this game. And if I said to you, hey, and I can't remember the final score off the top of my head, but like a less than 20-point SEC game, a 17-14 SEC game, is that going to be a great game or a crap game? Because I'm inclined to say, just on a surface level, that's a great game. And that's why when you look at TV ratings, that game's at the top of the list, because everybody knew if Nick Saban keeps that undefeated streak going at that building, in that building, he's undefeated. He keeps that thing going, they're in the playoff. He knew it, Kirby knew it, and everybody knew it. And what did he go out and do? He got the job done.
And I think you look at these numbers, and it tells you FSU Louisville was not a game of intrigue to most people. Texas, Oklahoma State, I think Oak State was an incredible letdown. Like, just never showed up in the game, and the TV ratings bear that out.
Well, and I think the Florida State game, the trouble is everybody knew what was going to happen in that game. Everybody knew it was going to be a dog of a game. Everybody knew that Florida State was going to find a way just to kind of grind it out, because even without their quarterback, they're a better team than Louisville. And what did I get? I got a low scoring, can't even barely get a first down in the second half FSU team that barely scraped by.
And I again say, how did Louisville beat Notre Dame? Oh, Notre Dame wasn't very good this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing that Louisville,
and it's an indictment
was
on
even
Louisville
there
too.
I mean, it's wild. And again, I think hands down, by far, the SEC is the best conference in college football. And everybody can run there. Oh, well, did you see they were 1-2 against the Big 12 and it couldn't beat the ACC. Great. What does that have to do with the fact they're the best conference in college football? What does it have to do with the fact that, in my opinion, they have the two best teams in the country?
And you're out of your mind if you think reputation doesn't matter, right? Like, on some level, even if anybody tells you, hey, your past performance doesn't matter at all, I just don't believe that. The SEC has dominated the college football playoff and the college football landscape for a decade.
And even though I don't, personally, I am not a fan of Missouri, the Tigers had a great year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their coach of the year, they had a great year. Just looking at, they're 6-2. Their defense is vastly underrated. 10-2 overall. Georgia 12-1. Right? You look at Alabama 12-1. Ole Miss 10-2. In a down year, LSU's 9-3 and accounts for one of the losses to the ACC. Like,
think about how Georgia feels.
I mean,
how does Georgia feel today? Dude, we got one loss. It was to Alabama, and that means we're not in the playoff.
Is Georgia having their state senators write letters and, ask for information about? No, because anyway.
They know what it is. That's
I
the thing.
agree. All right, the Monty Show, presented, of course, by our good friends at Bucked Up Energy, buckedup.com, the official energy drink of the Monty Show. And again, every day at this time we do it. And I just keep telling you, one of the main things that I use Bucked Up for, and I love about it, is headache. I have an hour of back and biceps at 5:30 this morning. And then, like idiots, we played a massive amount of golf this afternoon. When you have a meeting canceled, what do? Well, you go play some golf. I think I swung my golf club 200 times today. I'm feeling a little bit, have a little bit of a headache. That's nothing a buckshot can't handle. And there it is right there. Bucked Up, buckshot, 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine. And what I love about it, if you're like me and you're battling a headache today, you hit a buckshot, and in about 10, 15 minutes, you're just going to be like, man, I feel really good. I feel better. You get a mental lift. You feel more clarity. Your headache goes away. You have the ability to focus so you can finish, again, the Excel spreadsheet, the big phone call. Maybe your kids are coming home from school and you're a little low on patience today. Maybe you and your wife, maybe you guys have been arguing and you just need a little more focus. Maybe you're trying to do something nice for her. Pop a buckshot, have some mental clarity, get going, be the best version of yourself every single day. And if you think about your life situation, what time of day do you struggle? I know for me, when the alarm goes off at 4:55 every morning, it's tough for me to kick my legs out of bed and be like, all right, can't wait. I struggle with that. This morning, what did I do? I went downstairs, popped some pre-workout, had a great back workout today. Phenomenal back workout today. I'll do the same thing tomorrow morning, chest and triceps tomorrow. Cannot wait. And that's because Bucked Up makes products that work, because they use elite ingredients that make an elite product that does exactly what it says it's going to do. And Jake and I put our very small brains together, according to the hyenas, us small brain folks.
Right.
So some folks were complaining about the Prize Picks Giving Tuesday this week. At the end of the week, we are going to give out a what did we say the gift card was?
$100.
$100 Amazon gift card.
100.
All you have to do to qualify for that Amazon gift card is sign up for Prize Picks. Use our promo code Monty, or in the description below, click the link, make a deposit, $5, $10, whatever you want, and you're entered to win a $100 Amazon gift card at the end of the week. And people are like, well, that's I don't gamble and I don't play fantasy sports. That's not fair. Okay, it's Giving Tuesday. So on Giving Tuesday, we're going to give you a $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is interact with Bucked Up. Show me you have buckshot. Show me you have a Bucked Up energy drink. Get online and order some pre-workout. Show me that you've ordered today from Bucked Up. I got to see the date. Make sure it's today. No old recycled pictures. At the end of the show today, coming up at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, we're going to announce a $25 Amazon gift card on the show. Today, it's Giving Tuesday. I wanted to take care of everybody. I know that Christmas is here in 20 days.
Yeah, take it. See ya.
Good Lord, you guys. Christmas is 20 days from today.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. So we're trying to give you Amazon gift cards because we feel like that's a great way for you guys to spend your money. You get them as soon as the show's over. You can go Christmas shopping. All you have to do today is DM Jake. Let's have you DM Jake, SLC Jake on Twitter or Instagram. Show us that you are using Bucked Up. Whether that is, hey, I've got some in my refrigerator. Hey, shoot a video of yourself walking into a Bucked Up store. Shoot a video of yourself going into a Maverick or into an HEB or wherever you are.
Points for creativity, bro.
Order at buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout. Show me you ordered something in, and we'll hook it up.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
what's going on with Florida State and the ACC. Interesting developments when we were without internet yesterday. Tuesday in Tallahassee, the ACC and Florida State went head-to-head in front of Judge Cooper. And I think most people would agree, as the ACC won in North Carolina, Florida State, I guess, won. I don't know that anything was really decided in this case, other than Judge Cooper denied the stay application by the ACC to delay this court action by Florida State. Other than that, not much was divided. I don't know that there was a winner or a loser in this case, but certainly it was a good day if you were Florida State because you did not take a loss. The judge did not stay this case. He did not delay it to give precedent to the case in North Carolina. I think there is no doubt that Judge Cooper was leaning towards Florida State. He as much as says so, and talked about how the ACC was venue shopping when it was filing its case before Florida State could do so in Florida. They filed in North Carolina, which was his main reason, it appears, for not granting the stay that the ACC was asking for. But I don't know that there was a clear, unequivocal winner in this situation. The good news, if you are Florida State, you did not lose this hearing, because that certainly would have made your road to exiting the ACC through court a much steeper, more difficult terrain to navigate. But one thing is very clear, and it's what we've talked about in this Florida State situation versus the ACC for months and months now. Judge Cooper agreed with us and everybody else who has asked the question. If this grant of rights is so bad, why did you sign it? That is the question. That is, in my opinion, the lingering issue for Florida State hanging over their head coming out of court on Tuesday. Judge Cooper said he was troubled by the fact that Florida State put pen to paper on that ACC grant of rights when Florida State was arguing that its board of trustees was never given an opportunity to review the situation. Why then did Florida State sign the grant of rights, Jake? I think that is absolutely the biggest obstacle for Florida State here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's just no getting away from it. There's no, it is the ultimate ace in the hole for anybody arguing against Florida State. And I think it comes down to basic contract law, man. Like, obviously, this is a legitimate contract. It has everything you need for a legitimate contract. And now we're in a position where you've signed this thing not once, but twice. And it just puts you in a tough position, because you can't say on one hand, hey, like, this grant of rights is unfair, but then on the other hand, get away from the fact you signed it twice. That's just, you're just not getting out from under that. And the problem is that any judge has an obligation to obviously follow the law and rule on cases based on what the law says. The law says that unless you had a gun to your head, or were intoxicated, or unable to properly, like, if you were just impaired in any type of way, or forced or coerced to sign this contract, the contract's going to stand up on its merits alone. And that's what I think is the problem for Florida State. They've been trying to get out of this thing for years now. They've been trying to find the escape hatch, and they haven't found one. Yeah. So now they've gone to court action, and the problem is I still don't understand what the goal is, because I think everybody agrees you're not getting out from under this grant of rights through the courts.
100%.
So I don't know, is Florida State simply saying, hey, like, we're just going to try and make as much noise as possible, and then when the court rules against us, then we'll find our next avenue to be a pain in the ass in the ACC? I mean, is that the strategy? Because that's certainly what it kind of seems like, but I don't know what else it could be.
Well, and I think what's clear coming out of this case in Tallahassee the other day on Tuesday was that Florida State's going to argue that they are being unjustly held back by this grant of rights. They talked about, I believe the language they used was being held hostage by this grant of rights. The ACC's argument was, well, hey, you can get out of this for, $150 million anytime you want. But Florida State then said, yeah, but that doesn't get us our TV rights back, and it will cost $572 million, $500 million, to get out of this grant of rights. And this is where that argument comes in, because the attorney for Florida State said, quote, the ACC wants to take the next 12 years of every home game Florida State plays. And you figured, okay, well, you have a very pro Florida State judge here in Judge Cooper. You would think that that would resonate with the judge, but this is where that question of what did you do? Why did you sign this? And Cooper said that he sided more with Florida State. He made that very clear when it came to the issues of the grant of rights, but said, I side with Florida State, but I cannot understand, and I am troubled by putting your signature on that piece of paper. And I don't know how Florida State gets away from that, because I also think there was another really interesting moment when the ACC attorney argued, you've been profiting from this grant of rights for 13 years. And the judge said, well, yeah, that would be true. And that would be a relevant argument if you were asking for damages, if you were asking for repayment, which the ACC is not. The ACC is simply saying, we want this grant of rights upheld. So it's a really interesting back and forth. And I think it's really interesting that you're just now making this argument in front of a judge on something that you signed 10 years ago.
Well, and I think the terrifying part is, like, you've still got, 11 years on this grant of rights left. Like obviously for Florida State, in their, when you have their opinion, that's a long time, man. I mean, when you're of the opinion that you're suffering and you're being held hostage, 11 years feels like a long time given all the change we're seeing in the sport. But again, it's hard for me to feel sorry for Florida State because of the decision that they made. And the unfortunate part is the excuse of, well, everybody signed it. It was the accepted amount at the time, but the term is too long. And it's like, well, why didn't you make that case before? Did you not have the foresight to see that, yeah, TV partnerships and the game is going to continue to grow? Like, that was never some trade secret. It's very obvious that those valuations are going to continue to grow. So it just, that's why I say, when you really get down to the core of this issue, the question becomes, what is Florida State trying to do? Because it seems very clear they're not getting out of the grant of rights through the court, even when Judge Cooper is like, hey, yeah, I agree with you that the grant of rights is heavy-handed and it puts you in a bad spot, no question about it. But I also have to look at the law and say, hey, you signed it not once but twice, man.
And I think it's also very telling that the judge no commented, essentially, did not speak to the argument Florida State was making, that they are no longer in the decision-making process when it comes to ACC policy. And I think that's a very interesting no comment, if you will, from Judge Cooper, who was happy to comment and say he was favoring Florida State's position on many things. But how can you legitimately argue that the ACC should allow Florida State to be part of future policymaking when they are so passionately and publicly trying to get out? And I understand why Florida State made that argument in front of the judge, but I think it's really telling that the judge did not have much of a feeling on that.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like the judge, because he's a pro Florida State judge, empathizes with Florida State and understands how they feel and why they feel the way they feel. But he's being held accountable by the law. He can't, as a judge, just overlook the fact that you signed the document and you made a conscious decision. You didn't have a gun to your head. You weren't impaired. There were no issues when you signed it. You made the decision to do this, and now you want out. And that's not how the world works. Because again, if let's say the judge were to go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go against the grain and say that they should be allowed out. Do you understand that basically undercuts contract law for every contract law case there's ever been? I mean, if you start to think about it, you're like, yeah, if he does it here, where else could we have done it? You can't set that precedent.
And I know this inflames Florida State fans every time I say this, but this is no different than buying a house. It's no different than buying a car. Just because you have buyer's remorse and you feel like you're not making the money that you deserve or that your competitors are making, that doesn't give you the right to tear this contract up. And it was very clear when you signed this document that it was going to cost you $572 million to get out. And it's the argument they continue to make in court that that's arduous. Well, sorry, man, buyer's remorse does not work here. It's a contract.
Yeah.
And the judge, and I will continue to pat myself on the back. I'll dislocate my shoulder if needed. You were not under duress when you signed this contract.
Facts.
You did not have a gun to your head.
No.
You were not under the influence. You signed this contract and for 10 years said nothing about it.
Well, and I think to that end, there was an article that came out recently that talked about the fact that, you know, Bobby Bowden, like 10 years ago or whatever, did an interview where he talked about how, hey, like, do you remember the original reason why Florida State went to the ACC versus the SEC? Because they had a choice. If you go back and you look, they had a choice from when they were leaving Independence, what conference they were going to join.
Yes.
And the choice was the SEC or the ACC. Bobby Bowden himself said, hey, we went to the ACC because we knew that it was the easier path to go out and win a national championship. We knew that the ACC was not as competitive as a conference as the SEC, even at that time. So what's so incredible to me is that your very position in this conference is based on the fact that you wanted a free pass to a national championship, and now it's not working out for you.
Yeah, I think, and on the screen is what you're referencing here, where essentially Bobby Bowden told Paul Feinbaum in 2015 that he felt, quote, it was too difficult to win through the SEC to win a national championship. He also told 247 Sports in 2019 that he thought FSU would choose the SEC, but, quote, the administration, the president, and others wanted the ACC, which really was better for us. It would have been hard wading through the SEC. So, to your point, Jake, yeah, there's no question that Bobby Bowden was unequivocal in that they took the easy route. They chose the ACC because it was the easier path to a national championship.
So you chose the easier path. You got what you wanted. Then you wanted to continue that easy path, right? You were like, okay, cool. We're established. Let's continue it for quite some time. And now the landscape has changed in a way that you didn't foresee coming. You're pissed about it. You want out of the contract. And this judge, I'm telling you, does not have a way to be like, yeah, dude, you signed this contract twice, but we're going to ignore that fact and just let you do what you want. That's not how the law works.
No.
Dude. That's not possible.
And Florida State fans can get upset. Get upset with your administration. It's, again, not to say the same thing over and over. They're the ones that made these decisions.
Like, it's incredible to me in today's world that we want to have it both ways. Like, we don't care if the law says it's wrong, or even if you take the law out of it and you just go to the right thing to do. We don't give a damn about that. We just want the easy way. We want it to be as easy for as long as possible. And then if easy changes in a way that negatively impacts us, then we want out of the agreement. And that's what's hard for me. It's like this Florida State situation is different from the Michigan situation in the sense that the Michigan situation is just, hey, who did what illegal activity took place, and what's the discipline going to be? Right? That's what the Michigan situation was. That wasn't a contract law situation. This is a contract law situation. Hey, two parties agreed to something, and now one of those parties wants out. And by the way, I don't hear enough people talking about the fact that if the judge were to rule in Florida State's favor at the end of the day, you're not only ruling in their favor, you're ruling to tear down the ACC, which I think is another responsibility this judge has.
Well, and I think he is aware of that. I think he is painfully aware of that. And to put a bow around this, it's Florida State.
Yeah.
Like, this is a brand. This is a football powerhouse. And you're telling me that the best that a heritage brand like Florida State can do is go into court and argue we don't like it anymore, so we want out. And I'm fascinated that this is the position that a program, the magnitude of a program with these levels of success during the Bobby Bowden's era,
The heritage.
the history, the tradition,
Yeah.
didn't think this through. Didn't think, hey, $572 million is a lot of money. Did it never occur to you to do that calculation? Because that's what it feels like to me. And whether it's Arizona and their $240 million abacus mistake, like the Pac-12 melting down with some of the foremost academic and educational minds at the helm of that conference, and it completely melted down under incompetence. Are you telling me that that's where Florida State is? Because that's what this feels like. This case, to answer the question on the screen, this case will never be tried in front of a judge or a jury. This is 100%, and I think the judge said this. This is 100% about leverage in negotiations.
This case is empty.
It is. This will wind up in the hands of a mediator. This will wind up with a negotiated settlement. And I am curious, what happens to Clemson's case? What happens to Clemson's case? Because I think it's going to be very difficult for Clemson, and I feel like Clemson's just along for the ride in this.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see how that situation works out. It's going to be interesting to see when we get to a negotiation, like all this ridiculousness about how, they're going independent. Florida State's going independent this coming season. They're not going independent. They're not. You're not getting out of the ACC to go independent.
Well, and I think the issue is that this whole situation puts the ACC in a spot where they're not incentivized to help you. And I keep saying this, but like, you're not doing yourself any favors if you're Florida State to get what you want by trying to bulldog the ACC in a courtroom, right? Or by trying to use the courtroom for leverage, because the concept of leverage here doesn't really exist. What leverage does Florida State really have, right? In order to have leverage, you got to be able to say, hey, dude, if you don't do A, B is going to happen. Well, sorry, Florida State, you don't really have a B or an A. That's the issue. And so when I think about a mediator situation and these two sitting down at a table and figuring it out, for the ACC, there is no best case scenario when it comes to Florida State, because if they get out in any form or fashion, right? Let's say you got out and you paid a fee and Florida State retains its TV rights. Do you know what that does to the ACC? Do you understand that that puts the ACC at incredible risk? Because now we have precedent to get out of the grant of rights. Now it's like, okay, well, the Florida State did this to get out of the grant of rights.
Yeah.
We're UNC. You really telling me that we got to pay and do as much as they did?
I think if Florida State winds up, I mean, if we are talking about moving other members, the longer this goes on without resolution, the better it is for Florida State. Because the longer this goes on, the Notre Dame's, it really, what are we even talking about? North Carolina, because I think, again, this conference lives and dies on Tobacco Road. The longer this goes on, North Carolina State, other influential members, which I don't think Clemson is one of, the Dukes of the world, then the Notre Dames, that's when they're going to start getting antsy. And that's the problem for Florida State with this ruling, if you will. It's awesome that the judge said, if you're Florida State, it's awesome the judge didn't delay this movement by Florida State. Great. I'm all about that. That's a win. The problem is he sided with the ACC on the fact that Florida State signed this contract. Get to negotiating. Get to a settlement. Move the ball down the road. That's, if you are Florida State, you only have two options. You don't want this to go to court. In my opinion, in other people's opinions, I've asked about this, they can't go to court and win a contract argument. They just can't. There's no way that they're going to be able to win a contract argument. And all this is leverage at the mediator's table. That's all this is. So get about your business. If you are really serious about bringing an end game to whether it's just your situation in Tallahassee or the ACC in general, get to it. Because the longer this goes on, the worse it is for the ACC, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think if this lingers through the summer, at some point, North Carolina is going to have to move. At some point. Because they're already trying to churn. They're chumming the waters, if you will, calling, talking, trying to form alliances in this conference. And I have to believe now that they already have a plan. I think 99% of this is already been talked about and mapped out. It's simply a matter of what's going to trigger people to move and in what direction will they move.
Yeah.
But it's plain and simple. It is just as, I don't think this is complicated. I think in so many cases in this life, we try to make shit complicated. This is really simple.
Well, and the contract is the purest form of that, right? Like, it's not complicated. The contract says what it says. It's got everyone's signature on it. There was an agreement that took place. Like, don't confuse this. Florida State agreed. They said, yes, we agree to this. Not once, but twice. You're not getting away from that. And for me, if I was on the ACC side of things, again, I don't even feel like this court action gives Florida State a ton of leverage at a mediator table. Because again, if you're sitting at the table and these two are going back and forth, the ACC is just going to continue to say, okay, cool, you want this? If we don't give it to you, what are you going to do about it? Oh, that's right. Absolutely nothing. You're going to sit here and you're going to continue to make yourself look bad for your next home. That's what I'm saying. Like,
there's just no win here.
Yeah, there's no win for anybody.
There's no win
to
here.
which I say, if you're Florida State, why are you not going to ESPN? Why are you not going to the TV partners and saying, hey, man, this is our situation. This is what we want to do. What would be the initial opportunities? What would be the initial angles of possibilities?
I think that is a very difficult precedent to set. I think you are asking for it. It just is. It is. Yeah, it's rough. I think that's very rough. And when you, again, I just go back to contract law because I think that's what this is. And I think when you look at what Florida State agreed to, a long-term grant of rights that brought them stability that they have profited from. And I think that's why it's not accidental. What is the ACC's position? You sign this contract, you've profited from it, and now you want out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the judge questioned them on the profit angle of it, but he also very much leaned in favor of the ACC when he said, my biggest question is why did you sign this deal? The judge said, I'm having trouble getting past the fact that Florida State signed this not once, but twice.
Yes.
Signed this deal. That's very difficult to get away from, man. And that's why I think you got to get to negotiating.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you extended the deal is, I mean, I don't know how you're going to spin that. I mean, I don't know how you get around it.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Let's get your thoughts on it. As always, presented by Prize Picks, prizepicks.com.
Okay, we have to do the Masters, right? I mean, on
you
Prize
have
Picks,
to. You have
like,
to.
Like we have, like, let's see what Prize Picks rolled out for Tiger's number today. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, I'm not a believer in Tiger Woods winning the Masters. Can he make the cut? Yes. He has, and he has talked about, and everybody who has watched Tiger this week at the Masters has talked about his swing now accommodates that frozen in place heel,
right,
and ankle that he has. And he is now hitting the ball as far as he was before the car accident. So that's a lot of really good news, right? But I'm not somebody that can get on board with that. I am truly not.
Does he survive physically? Because that's the other thing.
That's the biggest. Well, he's also said that he has stopped using a golf cart in practice rounds because he is trying to condition. For those of you who don't know, Tiger Woods was in a major car accident. His right ankle is fused. It does not bend. It does not move. It is locked in place for the rest of his life or as long as he has that ankle. And it creates a lot of problems. One of the problems it creates is it creates significant knee and calf pain. As he walks more, he has significant pain, and it impacts his ability, or previously, it has impacted his ability to play 72 holes, which is what you're doing, right? You're playing 4 rounds of 18 holes. He's fine on Thursday and Friday. It's at the end of Saturday that he is really unable to continue forward. He says that he has changed his fitness regimen, and he is a voracious workout guy.
Yeah.
He is somebody that trains multiple times a day.
Do you even lift?
And he does. He has trained hard to be able to walk for 72 holes of golf. He has stopped using a cart when he's preparing for a tournament now, because what he had been doing is playing golf, not competitive golf, but playing practice rounds using a golf cart. Now he has stopped doing that, and it's forcing him to walk more.
Well, and I think people are like, oh, well, Monty, it's just golf. You're just walking. What's the big deal?
Well, when you have a frozen ankle, a fused ankle, which is what Tiger has, the Achilles, the muscles in the bottom of his foot. One of the issues he had in the Bahamas was the musculature in his foot was very painful. The tissue on the bottom of his foot just, I think he likened it to walking on glass. Every step was piercingly painful. I don't know how you fix that, right?
Well, it just sounds like a situation for Tiger where, again, this is a guy who's 48 years old now, so obviously he's not incapable. I mean, his body can still do things, but I think that at that age, when you're playing professional golf and you've played the amount of golf he's played, you have to give your body the chance to ramp up, and you have to say, hey, okay, if I'm going to be able to walk 72 holes, I got to do that in practice. And probably what he should be doing, and I don't know, maybe he is, I have no idea, but you should be training for like 5 days in a row, right? Hey, like, let's walk 18 holes and build up to that and teach my body how to get comfortable walking that far.
How to deal with
this. Because, again, when his body is there for him, he's going to be competitive. I'm with you. I don't think that this is a guy that's going to win the Masters this year. Best case scenario for me is a top 10 finish. That's best case, all world, everything's perfect scenario for Tiger. Would be a top 10 finish. He looks good. Like, maybe the putter comes alive during the weekend and he picks up some strokes. Like, that would be best case scenario. But I think this Masters needs Tiger not to flame out on Friday.
100%.
Like, this Masters needs Tiger to go through it. Because what I think
he needs to play the weekend.
Dude, what I think is going to happen, not to go off on a whole thing about the Masters here, but I do think Scotty wins this Masters. And I do think that the tournament itself, to keep the heat, needs Tiger at least in contention.
Within 10 shots of the lead.
Like, you need to be at least reasonably competitive.
All right, here's what I have on Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. Make sure you download the app. Use the promo code Monty, MONTY Monty, to get 100% deposit matching, which means you put in 50, they'll give you $50 more, up to $100. So you can put in $100, they'll give you 100 more. It's one of the best deals in fantasy sports. Hook it up, prizepicks.com. So the way that Prize Picks works, for instance, Tiger Woods today on strokes is 74.5. You simply have to say he'll have more than 74.5 strokes or less than. I'm less than 74.5 strokes for Tiger today. I am less than 72 strokes for Rory McIlroy today. And I am less than 73 strokes for Justin Thomas today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I tell you every day, my formula on Prize Picks is really simple. 3 selections. You take 3 selections, NBA, Major League Baseball, golf. You can mix and match. You can play all golf. I'll have all golf today, and then I'll have a baseball, basketball one as well. I always play flex. So I need 3 guys. I'm going to flex play it, which means if I get 2 of 3, I win my money. If I get 3 correct, I win 2.5 times my money. So I am going to put up a $25. I'll put up a $25 bet to win $56.25.
And when you're doing golf, I would highly encourage you just to do a quick Google search for the course that they're playing that week and understand what par for a round is. So at
Yes.
Augusta National, par is 72. So when you're looking at Prize Picks for golf and it says 74.5 strokes, what is Prize Picks saying there? They're saying, do you believe Tiger Woods is going to be 2 over or 3 over when he finishes his day? So I'm taking Tiger Woods to be 2 over, less than 74.5 strokes, right? Whereas with Scotty, right, his number's 71. So Augustus or Prize Picks is saying, hey, we think this guy is going to be 1 under or better. And I'm saying I think he's going to be 2 or 3 under, even with the conditions today. So with golf, you got to look at that stuff and understand what the course par for the course would be.
100%.
Dad,
Honey, what's wrong?
I got in an accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do? Or...
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day. And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
And Willie for $5. FSU was down 30 scholarship players because of transfers and opt-outs. Yeah, we call that an excuse. And it's not 30, it was 23. The number goes up every day, depending on who the Florida State. With all due respect.
Why do you think there were so many opt-outs, bro? What do you think that you're just going to skip over this fact?
So, asking for a friend. You're Florida State and Georgia, by far the biggest non-playoff bowl game. The most important, the game everybody was going to be watching. It's Georgia. Florida State fan, here's what you can't get away from. How did Georgia beat you by 60 points? Do you really think it was just what happened in that game and you didn't have enough talent to be there? Okay, sure. Let me give you that at 10%. Could it have been that a ton of their recruits enrolled at Georgia in December so that they were around the football team and they got to take part in the bowl festivities and all of those extra practices? Could it have been that when Georgia got left out of the college football playoff, what did Kirby Smart and what did the players do? Did they do what Florida State did and break out the boxes of Kleenex and just cry like a bunch of weak-minded individuals? Because that's what they did in Tallahassee by all accounts, right? They started playing funeral music on the piano and they all sat around and cried. And they got upset and they were wronged and people wrote letters and demanded budgets. And what'd they do at Georgia? Oh, they got motivated by it. And they turned their attention not to next year, not to the courts. They turned their attention to Florida State.
I'm for real.
And they beat the hell out of Florida State. And they practiced their early enrollees. I think it's 16 extra practices it was or something stupid like that. You're not a professional football team at Florida State. And you know the thing that I think made the most sense that Dan Orlovsky, I believe, was the one who said it. And then I think just about everybody ran with it because it's exactly right. You know who's really in favor of Michigan winning that game? Yeah, it would be the College Football Playoff Committee because it validated the fact that they put 4 really good teams. Michigan and Alabama, not only did it have a massive audience, massive TV audience, that was a hell of a football game. It was interesting, it was entertaining, and it was really close.
Overtime.
Yeah. Now, I'll also point out what happened in the first game also happened in the second game. Are you going to tell me that Texas and Washington wasn't a really good game between 2 really good teams where I thought it was pretty clear that Washington was good until you decided to run into the kick returner and just become stupid and forget how to play football? I did. And I do. And I think the college football playoff validates leaving Florida State out of the college football playoff because, again, you're not beating Michigan. Florida State, you're going to lose by 60 to Georgia, and I think you'd have lost by 59 to Michigan because Michigan's that guy, dude. He is him. That Michigan football team is way too physical for Florida State.
Absolutely.
So we can all sit here and we can say, oh, Florida State, those poor little victims in the panhandle. Keep filing your lawsuits, man. Keep going after the ACC. And this thing with the ACC, this is hysterical to me. Because not only are you in court, you freely admit you couldn't find your way out of the ACC grant of rights. That's the one talking point that I'm amazed most people have not brought forward. You couldn't find a loophole. You couldn't find your way out. So what did Florida State say? Yeah, we're going to sue. We don't, and again, I know it's crazy, Michigan fan, you're going to relate. We don't like the rules when they're applied to us. So we're going to sue. And I'm just asking again. Did you not read the grant of rights before you signed it?
Apparently not.
Did you not know what you were reading? Do you have a reading comprehension problem? Because when you sign the original grant of rights and then you sign the extension, did you not see in all the numbers where people are like, oh my God, Monty, can you believe it's $500 million to get out? Yeah. You know why I believe it? Because it's in black and white. And guess what? What else is in black and white? The signature of Florida State is in black and white. So I'm asking, even with all the numbers, $572 million to leave the ACC without a legal victory or settlement. It would forfeit $429 million in media rights through 2036. But forfeit, that's your decision. And this is where the $1 billion number comes from. Right? Because if you, and I'm not trying to indict nobody.
Don't go crazy now.
500 and 400 is 900 million, 72 and 29. That's about another. It's $1 billion.
Oh.
Did you not know those numbers? Oh, you did. So I'll ask the same thing that I asked about the Pac-12, about Michigan, about all these crazy situations. You either knew, Jim Harbaugh, that you were stealing signs. Okay, so you did know. Oh, you're fired for being a cheater. Oh, you didn't know, you're fired for a lack of institutional control.
Facts.
So ACC, let me apply those same rules you hate so much to you. Oh, you did read the contract, so you knew all the numbers. Okay, you're fired for incompetence because you're the one that handcuffed you, not the ACC.
Pack your shit. Let's go.
And you can keep trying to blame it on ESPN. ESPN didn't handcuff you. You did. You read the grant of rights and you happily signed it. And you read the extension and you happily signed it. Oh, you did read it. You signed it. Okay, so you're just now admitting you're a terrible business person. Got it. Oh, you didn't read it. So you didn't know about the $1 billion and you didn't know that it was to like 2156 AD that you're locked into this grant of rights. You're incompetent and they should sue you, not ESPN and the conference. Jackass. So which one is it? I
Straightforward.
Asking for a friend. Which one is it? Because we can keep doing this garbage over and over and over again.
Best point, dude.
Or you can be held accountable for this decisions you made that are crippling your football program right now.
And I really think people are coming around to this strategy that we've been seeing rolled out the last 5 years. Oh, we don't like the rules applied to us, so we're going to sue. I feel like people are starting to come around to, hey, great, sue, but you have nothing to sue us on. And so let's go. They're calling their bluff. They called Michigan's bluff. They're going to call Florida State's bluff. We're good. You can huff and puff, but it's not going to change anything, man.
And it's OG Gary. This is exactly what's going to be my next comment. Jordan Travis said the team was so good without him. Yeah, we found out what your definition of good is, Florida State and Jordan Travis. You lost by the biggest margin ever in a bowl game. Ever in a bowl game. Come on, man. It's Jack Harrington. I hope FSU's lawyers opt out. I don't. How do you win this case? I don't know.
You got to come up with a story. You got to come up with a hypothetical.
I'll just fall back on my track record. Again, what did I tell you about Washington and the other 9 exiting members of the Pac-12? You should have gone to court and you should have made a better argument. But you didn't, so you lost. Well, you did make a better argument because you didn't have one. Okay, great. If you're Michigan, I said this exact thing about Michigan. What you should have said is, hey, they're punishing the coach, not the institution. The coach has said he doesn't know anything about it. That's why this penalty of suspending him and all that, invalid. Oh, you can't do that because a mountain of new evidence was presented that showed allegedly that Jim Harbaugh knew about it. So I'm just asking Florida State, what's your argument here? Because as somebody that fancies myself shoulda, coulda, woulda, wanted, now regret not being a lawyer, and just asking some friends of mine in the TV industry, nobody seems to know what the valid argument beyond the fact of we're not making as much money as the guys down in Gainesville.
Okay, so that's how it's going to be.
Because their argument, quite literally in the brief that they filed, their argument is that the grant of rights is unfair.
Wait. I know you were just joking when you just said that because we've never heard the word unfair before, right? When's the last time you heard the word unfair?
It's missing the college football playoff was not the main reason to file the suit. Florida State said it was the last straw. The Board of Governors at Florida State felt the university could simply not wait any longer to take action, as Florida State has been working on its legal argument since the summer. So, again, I'm just naive little Monty over here.
Well, Monty.
You're paying lawyers because this was filed in December. Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. June 21st, first day of summer.
Okay.
It took you 6-7 months to come up with an argument? An argument. Because you don't have an argument. I told you back in the Pac-12, I believe the day that Utah left the Pac-12, we told you this on the show. Our sources were telling us Florida State has caved. They know they don't have a loophole in the contract, the grant of rights, that they've been trying to get out of with a bunch of their ACC compatriots for like 7 years. And you signed an extension in that period.
Wait, let me get this right. We've graduated from it took you 6 months to come up with an argument to now it took you 7 years to come up with a way out and an argument. Dude, again, this word unfair is incredible to me. Washington came to representatives for Washington, the 10 who left the Pac-12 came to their court day and said, gosh, it's just unfair. And, we're getting screwed. And now what do I hear? Florida State, gosh, it's just unfair. We're getting screwed. Dude, tell me without telling me you have no argument. Tell me without telling me you signed a contract, you don't like the contract, you want out of the contract, yet you have no way out of the damn contract.
The filing,
deal with it.
According to Florida State's legal team, quote, their grounds are, quote, unreasonable restraint of trade in the state of Florida. They argue the grant of rights and withdrawal penalty, quote, operate in a way that prevents Florida State from competing and making the highest best use of its media rights.
Then
that's why you signed an agreement,
deal, bro. Why'd you sign the deal?
You quite literally have a grant of rights, so you can't go play on anybody else's network.
Do you view this season as a failure?
What? Operate in a way that prevents Florida State from competing. We get it. You're not supposed to compete. You're supposed to win in the ACC. It restrains the trade thereof, which directly and adversely impacts not just Florida State, but all its student athletes, coach, staff. This is the exact same argument that the exiting 10 members made.
So, I just, and again, little Jakey Two Holes over here, it's just me. But I'm just going out on a limb and saying, if you stole Washington's argument, essentially, why did you steal that? They lost. You're losing. to the point where we know you caved. Like, what are you doing here? How is it that we as talk show hosts and you as, fans and viewers and spectators, how is it that we are not paid legal authorities, paid legal professionals?
Yeah, hire me and pay me what you pay your lawyers.
Like, how is it that you're paying these people to come up with it's unfair? I've never understood that about this whole thing. Quote, it's unfair, the position that we've been put in. Oh, excuse me, the position we put ourselves in. Like, I don't understand how that's the best argument. How about this? How about you say, hey, so yeah, we did sign the deal, but here's everything that's happening. And then be creative as a lawyer. Tell a story, like create a situation. Like that's sales, bro.
A person in the know sends me a text message that now, dude.
Yeah.
I hate disappearing messages.
We still never talk sometimes.
So this one particular person that I know that works at the top of the TV industry somehow has a messaging app that when he texts you, it disappears. So you're left sort of talking to yourself. Literally, our text message window just is me asking questions of myself.
Real.
But his point is, he said, Monty, do you realize nobody has ever gone to court to try and break a grant of rights because they're all boilerplate templates that are unbreakable? Nobody's ever won because nobody has ever tried because there's no way to win. And even if they win, there's no winning because they are going to forfeit $500 million minimum.
Bet you weren't expecting this one.
$500 million.
Who are you, SMU?
It's going to be wild. UW fan Jim, DeBoer greater than Lanning. Stop. And Sark, what about Harp? Why do we do this? Now, UW fans, you're going to the national championship. I get it.
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer is a hell of a head coach. You wouldn't be where you are now without Steve Sarkisian, and stop denying that. I love that everybody at UW is like, he was a drunk when he was here. Okay, great. Would you be where you are right now without Steve Sarkisian? No, go ahead. The answer is no, you would not. No, we don't need to do DeBoer greater than Lanning. We don't need to do that. Did he beat Dan Lanning twice this year? He did. But does that mean that Dan Lanning's a bad coach? It doesn't. Does that mean that Steve Sarkisian's not the coach that Kalen DeBoer is? No, I would take Steve Sarkisian over DeBoer. I know you hate it. I would. Mm-hmm. And no, I don't think that Jim Harbaugh is a good head football coach. I do not. I don't. I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the most overrated college football coaches ever. And the true indicator of that, what are his relationships like when he leaves somewhere? What are they at San Diego? What are they at Stanford? What are they at San Francisco? Go ask any of those places. Do they miss him? They don't. They do not. And what happens when he leaves? Usually nothing good. And Michigan fan again, not for nothing, when Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL this offseason, what kind of shape is he going to leave Michigan in? Because you're going to get crushed. You're going to get crushed.
Yes, you are.
Michigan, you're not getting a free pass because you went to court. You went as far to make public filings defending this guy. You're not getting a free pass on that. You're not. But
you shouldn't.
I don't have, Jim, I have no problem with you defending Kalen DeBoer. I don't. I think there's no defending or touting Kalen DeBoer.
Talking your junk.
But the Lanning, Sark, Harbaugh thing, why do that? Why? He hasn't. Do you understand that he has not achieved anything extraordinary yet? If he wins a national championship, okay, that's extraordinary. But merely playing for a national championship is not extraordinary. It's not. Did he beat a really good Texas team? He did. But the hard part for that, I think a lot of people don't want to embrace, just because you beat Steve Sarkisian, does that make you a better coach than him? It does not. Just because you beat Dan Lanning twice, are you a better coach than Dan? Sure. Okay, I'll concede that one.
Just because Alabama's center couldn't snap the football and you beat them that day, does that make you a better head coach than Nick Saban?
So Jim Harbaugh is a better head coach than Nick Saban. You're never going to hear me agree to that because I just don't buy it. Matthew gives us $20. How about West Virginia beating UNC? Good win. West Virginia could be sneaky team in the Big 12 next year.
What are you talking about, man?
Oh, but what about the opt-outs? I've never seen a fan base so upset that a head coach didn't get whacked.
We're in the hotel. What was that? In St. George. We're in the hotel. No, it was in Vegas. It was in Vegas. We're in Las Vegas.
Vegas, 100%
yeah,
Vegas.
we were in Vegas. Going up the elevator, and a West Virginia fan gets in the damn elevator.
A husband and wife, West Virginia fan.
Yeah.
Get in the elevator with us. I wasn't interrupting you. I was just merely saying a middle-aged, West Virginia, wearing West Virginia gear, the whole nine.
Vest, the whole deal.
Hey, man, you guys got to be happy about your season. What do you think the wife said? Not the husband.
The wife.
The wife. Neil Brown's going to survive another year.
It was like on command, dude. Like just auto answer.
It was amazing that was her answer. Oh my God. Like, come on, man. Cougar Track says lost days and nights in Vegas. Many.
Seriously.
Many.
Seriously.
Many lost days and nights. Laguerre. Brian Laguerre. Bama had 18 5-stars on the roster, most ever. They did. And the center who couldn't snap the football, he won't be back next year. He's in the portal. I will continue also to tout on these comments. The star system in this country is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It is bought and paid for. Has nothing, almost nothing to do with what you do on the field. Now, can you be a 5-star and be terrible? You can't. Can you be a 3-star and somehow when you're good, but all of a sudden, how did that kid get to be a 5-star? We know how. Recruiting services. That's how. Hero 75 for $10. Florida State plan seems to be to get a friendly judge who is an alumni, and then try to get enough dirt or embarrassing items about the ACC that can be leaked in Discovery to force the ACC to make a deal to allow them to leave. And immediately the ACC filed a countersuit. There will not be.
The ACC's not playing, dude. Like
the ACC, the problem is everybody at Florida State wants to make this argument that somehow, the ACC was dirty. The deal. No, it wasn't. The deal was not dirty. Do you think anything happens in the ACC without Florida State and Clemson knowing? Without North Carolina knowing? No, it doesn't. Actually, no, it doesn't. There was no backhanded, under table. Come on, dude. Stop. And I think so many people at Florida State want to, you guys, can you believe the injustice? Can you believe the great state school of that vaunted state of Florida where Coach Prime went to college football and NFL greatness? Yeah. Can you believe how much backhanded BS went on to damage us? Us personally, just Florida State. Nobody else in the conference has been damaged by this. Just us here in the little handle of the pan in the state of Florida, where Disney is now thriving. But that's not the point. We at Florida State, singularly, are victims. And they forced us to lose this game by 60 points, the largest bowl loss ever. Why, Florida State? It's us that they're after. Did you guys sign the grant of rights? Well, yeah.
I knew today would be shitty.
Did you read it? All right, cross-examination counsel for the ACC. Hey, Florida State bigwig, did you guys read the grant of rights before you signed it? Yes, we did.
Yes.
Move for summary judgment. Granted. All right, thanks. What other question are you going to ask? You read the document that you signed not once but twice.
That's the damning thing.
Oh, but you guys, You guys have nudie pictures. You're on the Epstein list. But did you read and sign the grant of rights? Yeah. Summary judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, Coach Prime read it on our behalf. Governor DeSantis approved it.
Fucking Cole Beasley.
Approved. Cole Beasley read it and approved it. Come on, man. Ryan Willie. It also states that ESPN can walk away from the ACC in 2027.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does that mean for Florida
What's
State?
that got to do with the price of
Look,
tea
look.
in China?
Look, why can't we walk away? Because you signed the grant of rights. Right, but ESPN can walk away. Right, they're the ones who made the deal with
And it's very powerful.
with you that you signed in red and stuff. Well, yeah. Remember, you're under oath. Okay. Like what? I don't know what the argument, and I know you guys think I'm being simplistic, and you probably think,
But it's literally that simple. That's the
Bonnie,
thing.
you're being mean-spirited over here. Seminole Nation, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Like, that's what you guys will say. You'll be like, you hate Florida State. I actually don't hate Florida State. I do not. Chris Wanke be damned. Can I tell you how many in my young Cub reporter covering the Raiders in Sacramento? Do you know how many conversations I had with Seabass about Florida State? A lot. I don't hate Florida State. I hate people that sue because they don't like the rules being applied to them.
Here I am.
Did you guys read and then sign the grant of rights? Well, yeah. Did you read and then sign the extension? And again, I understand it's 2157 AD. Did you read and sign the extension? I plead the Fifth Amendment. I want my guns. I'm pleading the Fifth Amendment. That's the Second Amendment, sir. I didn't read the Bill of Rights either. I meant, Your Honor, can I have a recess?
So-called experts.
That's what this is going to be. That's what this is going to be.
Yes.
Because I don't see any other way out of it. I don't see any other way out of it. Mike Smith, DeSantis is not the reason. Well, look, I gave it to our governor, and he told me he was going to be president. And
That's
then
bullshit.
now we're suing everybody. Like, I don't know what you do. The governor earmarked what, $1 million a couple of weeks ago? What did we do? $1 million? Didn't we just announce we have the largest debt ever? Yeah, let's just throw $1 million into the fire. Who's counting? You know, where's that state investigation going? I don't know either. It's wild. Jerk D's. Okay.
Dude, what kind of name is that, bro?
Macaque.
Michigan will bully Penix like everyone else. Facts. You have no team. Well, I think Washington has a team. I mean, what does that mean?
That dude's name.
Look, Jerk D's. I don't. And you can call yourself Jerk Deezy all you want, and I'm here for it.
Oh,
it's better for the show,
dude. I needed that, bro.
I don't even try to hide the fact that I'm a Notre Dame fan, and we don't compete for anything but dead girlfriends.
Right.
Like that's it. That's all,
bro.
Somebody sent me a DM the other day. Before we get back to Deezy, somebody sent me a DM the other day, and they were like, "Hey, Monty, wanted to make sure you saw this, bro. Did you see that your new head coach at Notre Dame has the most wins, tied for the most wins with everybody that's ever coached? Yeah, I mean, and you know, all the glory, bro. Play like a champion next year. Like, he can't count to 11 on defense against Ohio State. Why do I care how many guys? So he's got all these wins. That means we're stacking natties everywhere. We're Jameis Winston in Florida State getting crab, right?
Yeah, Natty Lights.
Whoa! Natty Lights. I like it. I like it a lot. The Monty Show, hour number 2, presented by TryDayTrading.com. Whew. Back in the new year, no better way to make money than TryDayTrading.com. And I tell everybody, because it seems like lately a lot of us have been focused on being stuck. It's so funny. We took some time over the holiday to Talk about where we are versus where we're going versus where we want to be. And I went to dinner with a good friend of mine in Los Angeles. And what do you think they were talking about? Well, where are we, but where do we want to be? And everybody talks about, well, we need money to do this, or we need, it always comes down to, can you afford to move here, to open that, to buy this, right? That's where we're all at. Whether you hate your job or you're pissed you got to go back to the office, whatever it is. Think about what that is in your mind right now. I'm tired of being in school. TryDayTrading.com. I'm tired of fighting my credit card debt. TryDayTrading.com. I'm tired of student loan debt. I'm tired of paying. I got a friend of mine that lives in Los Angeles that's paying like $50 million a month in rent. TryDayTrading.com. It's not the greatest economic situation in the world right now. But if I told you TryDay Trading will give you a 30-day trial membership, and all you have to do is make a $10 charitable donation to get their entire program for free for 30 days. You give $10 to charity. In fact, the process is you give it to TryDay Trading. They have a charity they designate every month where all their trial memberships go. You give them $10. They give it to charity. So stop talking about your New Year's resolution. This is the year I'm going to pay off my credit card debt. Right after I buy another case of
Bucked Up
Natty Light. Bucked Up's fine too. Stop making New Year's resolution arguments. Stop telling me that you were going to do this, but you'll have to wait till next year. Do it right now. Go live your dreams. Go chase your money. Go get it done. TryDayTrading.com/Monty. Make sure you tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. Let's run through a few of these. Jim Choi, Penix Jr. is the cool hand Luke. Okay. I mean, he's the best player in college football.
Mm-hmm.
We can put that argument to bed. And if I'm the Chicago Bears, who have the #1 pick, yeah, I'm still trading Justin Fields. Just my opinion. I'm not taking Caleb Williams. I'm taking Michael Penix Jr. And this is why we should not have the Heisman Trophy until after the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
Because Michael Penix Jr. is the best football player in college football, period. That's it. I'm telling you now. He is the best player in college football. Drew Dozer, the Prophet.
Well.
Fist pump. What's up?
Dude?
Eric Wasikowski from Plymouth Canton.
Hey, Wasikowski.
The hate tears really are delicious. Go blue. The hate tears.
God, you're a Michigan fan. That's right.
That's right. See, and the sad thing is, as a Notre Dame fan, I actually respect Michigan a lot. I don't hate Michigan. I can't stand Jim Harbaugh. I think he is the scourge of college football. I think if you are hoping Jim Harbaugh stays at Michigan, you should get therapy. Nobody should get therapy. UW fan Jim, I like Lanning and Sark. Is okay just saying DeBoer is better.
Cool.
That's your opinion. He's not a better football coach than Steve Sarkisian. He has not achieved that. He is not accomplished. I don't even know that I would say that after he wins a national championship. I think what Sark has been through in his growth and development and the program he's built at Texas, I have a hard time saying that you lose your best running back, you're arguably your most important player, and you still go to the college football playoff. The depth he's built there is amazing. Mike Smith, the power of Penix compels you. Do you know what that's a reference to?
The Exorcist.
Hey, look at that. 2 old.
Yay!
I love it. Sean Rollins, Mike Wizowski. Okay.
Mike Wazowski.
Aaron Wilson, Taj Brooks for Heisman. Dude, he's not even in the top 100.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, come on now. Marley Nuggs, that's a lie. Exactly. The test determined that's a lie.
Yeah.
Scott of Greywater Watch. I totally agree, Monty. Heisman vote should definitely be after the playoffs. I think it is brutal. I think it is brutal that it's before. I think it robs guys like Penix.
It lacks context because it's before. It lacks, the real nature of the game. Like, it's cool. It's cool that he did what he did at LSU. That's cool. That's fine. You can put up numbers. That's cool. But what'd you really do? Anything?
Did you see that Brian Kelly fired his entire defensive staff?
As he should have.
Today?
As he should have.
Those buyouts are, and I think it's important to note they were 10-3 and he fired his entire defensive staff, which is wild that they fired their entire defensive staff. But looking at Jaden Daniels, 3,812 yards passing, 1,134 yards rushing. And did I mention he had 50 touchdowns? Michael Penix Jr. is a better quarterback. He is the best player in college football, even going up against those numbers.
And that's my problem with the Heisman. Like, it's such a stat-based award. Like, we should be saying, okay, like, getting into the playoff should really be like a prerequisite of the Heisman. Like, we should not even be talking about dudes whose team is not in the college football playoff. Even in an expanded era, we should not be talking about you if your team's not in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Marley Nuggs, what's up, Marley? Y'all hate Michigan more than anything. Y'all still crying about us. I don't hate Michigan. I can't stand Jim Harbaugh. And I think he is a blight and an embarrassment on the face of Michigan, the University of Michigan.
As much as you think we hate Michigan, you deny everything that he's done. So you can say we hate Michigan, but you're drinking the Kool-Aid to just as much of an extent. I mean, so it's fine. I don't personally hate Michigan as a brand. I love the hockey program, love what they do on the basketball court. Like, I don't like that the first time in however long, since before I can even remember, you're competing for a national championship on the back of a cheating scandal. If this was on the back of like, a P&L sheet issue where you got paid all this extra money or something that doesn't necessarily affect the game, we wouldn't even be talking about it. But there's a reason that everyone's talking about it. It has nothing to do. Don't fool yourself, Michigan fan. And that's kind of the arrogance that I think is just blasting through this comment. You think that we're talking about this because Michigan is amazing and Michigan is like this grand thing. We're not talking about it because of that. We're talking about it because it's a disgrace what the evidence says you did, what your head coach perpetrated, what your staff perpetrated. So that's it. It's not that we hate Michigan. If Alabama did this, we'd be saying the same thing because it's unacceptable. And by the way, it would be worse if Alabama did this because, and I know you're going to find this shocking, Nick Saban's actually done something in college football. You know, 6 national championships he has, the extended dominance of the game. To throw all of that away on a cheating scandal would have been incredible, but we're not.
And I just think that Jim Harbaugh is so destructive. That's the issue with Jim Harbaugh. It's not the pick the violation he's accused of. Meeting with kids during the COVID period. I believe that significant names met with kids during the COVID period. It's not that you overworked your coaches. I probably would call more than an acquaintance, friends, 100 college football assistant coaches. They all work way more than they're allowed to work. Do you know how many college coaches go to summer 7-on-7s or go to, like, you're not supposed to do that, but you're going. And why is that? Because if you don't go, you're going to miss what your competition's not missing because they're going.
Dad?
Honey, what's wrong?
I got in an accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do? Or...
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day. And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
Florida State getting screwed by the College Football Playoff Committee. And I guess here's my question. And this is something that I've struggled with for a long time, and we've talked about it openly on the show. Do rules matter? That's the question that I have. And I guess they don't, because whether you're Michigan cheating, whether you're Florida State, whether you're elections or whatever it might be, apparently when things don't go your way, the rules don't matter. Because the hardest part, and we always do it this way, we did it with Ohio State, we did it with Michigan, and now we're going to do it with Florida State. There was not a single rule broken by the College Football Playoff Committee when it comes to choosing somebody other than Florida State. It states specifically in the college football selection process, the College Football Playoff Committee has a selection process that has a specific stipulation for injured players. I don't know about you. I watched the ACC championship game on Saturday, and that was not one of the 4 best teams in the country. Jake, did Florida State get screwed by the College Football Playoff Committee?
There's not a chance that they got screwed. And I think the biggest thing right now is that Florida State fan wants to claim that they're a victim or that somehow they got cheated or robbed or, somehow that there was a different standard set to them versus any of the other teams that got selected. And so, over the weekend, I'm on X, on Twitter, and I'm arguing with people and I'm having conversations. And the main thing that I think Florida State fan is griping about is the fact that you were an undefeated conference champion. And somehow that should auto bid you into the college football playoff. And I'm here to tell you, nothing auto bids you into the college football playoff. Yes, is there a common denominator that, hey, the other 3 were undefeated or 1-loss conference champions? Okay, sure. But the point is that winning your conference doesn't just automatically mean you get in, but it helps your case. The thing that you can't run from is that because Jordan Travis blew up his leg, you're not one of the 4 best teams. And it seems so cut and dry to me. And maybe it's because I'm not a Seminole fan. Maybe it's because I'm not, bought into the whole Mike Norvell experience or whatever. I'm not bought into the soft-ass ACC schedule that you played all year long. Maybe that's what the difference is. But for me, I just don't think that this is that difficult. And by the way, while we're talking about the ACC, Florida State, my biggest problem with you is that you're playing both sides of the fence. Earlier this year, you wanted to blow up the ACC. You said that you weren't getting, your proper share of TV revenue and that, this is a crap conference and you wanted to leave. And now because you got, you didn't get selected in the College Football Playoff Committee, you want to say, hey, guys, we played an ACC schedule. We're an undefeated conference champion. This is a great conference, a Power 5 conference. And I'm just simply sitting here saying it's a bad look to try and have it both ways. We didn't just magically forget that you wanted to leave your conference earlier in the year. We didn't just magically forget that you had disdain for your position in college football. So let's not then try to just skip over that fact. You want special treatment. The reality is you're not better than the SEC. You're not better than the Pac-12. You're not even better than the Big 12, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue here is you don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to, that senators writing letters on your behalf. And I'd love to understand, we have a U.S. Senator in Rick Scott demanding information, and I want transparency. You're a U.S. Senator. We have bigger fish to fry than the College Football Playoff. And I understand you're not happy with the outcome. There are no rules violations to be going after. Fix the issues in our country. Then maybe we can talk about your football fandom. I look at Mike Norvell's statement. I'm disgusted and infuriated with the committee's decision today to have what was earned on the field taken away because of a small group of people decided they knew better than the results of the game. Okay, that small group of people. What rule did they violate? Where's the rule that they flagrantly ignored? Because again, their job, and this is what I love about statements like this, their job was not to make sure that the undefeated team got into the college football playoff. The commission's decision today to have what was earned on the field taken away. It wasn't earned on the field. Where does it say earned on the field in the College Football Playoff Committee? It doesn't say earned on the field. Their job was to find the 4 best teams in the country. I have heard, and it's all Florida State fans on the other side of it, I've heard very few people make the argument that this Florida State team without Jordan Travis is better than Alabama, Texas, Washington, or Michigan. Nobody with any credibility is making that argument. And I'm asking you, where is the specific rule, Florida State fan, that was broken by the College Football Playoff Committee? That we have a senator taking time away from his constituents and the business of this country to get involved in the college football playoff? Because the BCS wasn't good enough and we have to have a playoff system. Well, now you got a playoff system and you want to bitch and moan about that too. It's never good enough. It's never good enough. Michigan cheated. They don't deny it, yet somehow a rule was broken. Okay, like I'm over it. I'm so massively sick and tired of the fact that we put a rule in place, and as soon as somebody doesn't like it, they want to sue and they want to get litigious, and we've got to get a senator involved. Get out of here. Like I'm so over it. Like Mike Alford's statement, the athletic director at Florida State, the argument of whether a team is the most deserving or best is a false equivalence. It renders the season up to yesterday irrelevant. No, it actually really is not a false equivalent, Mike. It isn't. And the most delicious part of Florida State saying, hey, we got screwed and this system sucks. Isn't that the same thing you guys are saying about the ACC? When you're over here trying to blow up the grant of rights in the ACC and you're just rolling on about how you deserve better. Well, now all of a sudden the rules have been followed precisely and you deserve better. Somehow Florida State finds itself on the wrong end every single time and they deserve better. The problem is you deserve what you've earned, and you haven't earned the designation as one of the 4 best teams in the country. That's the bottom line. You're not. Without Jordan Travis, you're not better than Alabama. Without Jordan Travis, you're not better than Texas. Without Jordan Travis, you're not better than Washington and Michigan. You're simply not. And I don't know how else to spin that. I watched that game on Saturday, and I saw a Louisville team and a Florida State team play by far one of the worst conference championship performances, save Iowa's disappearing act, that I had seen in many years.
Facts.
How can, and again, I'm asking point blank because you have the hypocrite, A.D. Alford at Florida State, saying the fact that this team has continued to close out victories in dominant fashion facing our current quarterback situation should have enhanced our case to get a playoff berth earned. What dominant performance did you put in over the weekend? Because I didn't see that. And if I missed it, somebody please feel free to inform me, what dominant performance did we get out of Florida State this weekend in that mighty 16-6 performance where you threw for a grand total of what? 55 yards. You passed for a grand total of 55 yards.
Oh, but it's a dominant performance.
And you think your quarterback threw for 55 yards and you think you are one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Hey, how many yards did Texas throw for over the weekend? Because the numbers say it was 494 yards, bro. And you're over here with 55 yards, and you think that you should be in over them or Bama.
I am amazed that when we're talking about Florida State, you get comments like this. Florida State had more yards than Michigan. So you truly think, Marcus, Florida State's better than Michigan. That's what this comment says, that you think Florida State's better than Michigan. What college football have you been watching? Explain to me, in what world is Florida State by any metric better than Michigan? No, I can't think of one either. Because Florida State, I might say head to head, 100% every single player across the board. Florida State's not better with or without Jordan Travis than Michigan is.
That'd be America's team.
It's this kind of ridiculous comment that makes you understand rules just don't matter anymore. Everybody's opinion is fact. Rules don't matter anymore. I mean, it's amazing to me that you want to make the argument that Florida State's better than Michigan. You really want to make that argument? Without their 2 best quarterbacks, Florida State's better than Michigan. You think without their 2 best quarterbacks, which is what Florida State was when this announcement was made, you truly believe that Florida State's one of the 4 best teams in the country? Without their 2 top quarterbacks, with a freshman who looked like he was still in high school.
Because it's garbage.
you're going to make the argument that Florida State's one of the 4 best teams in the country. With Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Bama, all of them healthy. And 3 of those 4, exclude Michigan because Free Harbaugh is not an elite quarterback, in my opinion. But you look at Penix, you look at Quinn. Quinn Ewers had 354 passing yards in the first half. In the first half, Quinn Ewers put up 354 yards passing. And you're trying to make the argument that you're one of the 4 best teams. You're trying to make the argument that Michael Penix Jr., who just beat a really good Oregon team for the 2nd time, and you think somehow that Florida State without Jordan Travis belongs in over them?
Please.
Belongs in over Quinn Ewers in Texas? Belongs in over Jalen Milroe in Alabama, who Jalen Milroe just continues to make play after play. That Alabama defense, who I would remind you, because you want to talk about people wanting to knock down teams, because here's the other thing we do. Oh, my God, Florida State's not in. Alabama sucks. I would remind you that they just beat Georgia, the gold standard in college football for the last 2.5 years. And all of a sudden, no, Alabama sucks. Florida State should be in. In what world are you living that you think that Alabama team is going to lose to this Florida State team? I'm just curious. Because the bar is not earned on the field.
It's not undefeated. The bar's never been undefeated.
Deserving. Their job in the college football playoff committee is the 4 best teams, not the 4 best matchups, not the 4 best TV numbers, not the best stories. Their opinion, who are the 4 best teams, because those are the 4 best teams getting in.
Go, Chad!
And they have a rule that specifically says, hey, if you have an injury, we can consider that and whether or not you're one of the 4 best teams. So again, Marcus, the great, tell me how Florida State's better than Michigan. Because that never happened. That in nobody's opinion did that ever happen. C Black for $20. Clearly a Florida State fan. With Jordan Travis, Florida State is the best team in the country. You don't believe that. Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, first-round receivers. Trey Benson, a top 3 running back. Jaheim Bell, 3 tight ends in the draft. Great O-line, best defense in the country.
Against 2.
It is, first of all, and I'm all here. We've talked about verse on this show at length. I'm here for the Florida State defense. It's not Ohio State's defense. I don't believe it's Michigan's defense. And I certainly don't believe that it's Texas or Alabama's defense. I don't. And maybe you could have the argument about Texas. I was a little surprised at some of the leaks in their defense. They cleaned those up at the half. You're not Alabama's defense. You're not Michigan's defense. And I'm pretty certain you're not Ohio State's defense. Those are 3 elite defenses. Are you a very good defense? Yes. But much to Jake's point, the ACC, and again, I just ask you, Florida State fan, you're always the victim here. You're always the victim here. You're even answering like with Jordan Travis. Well, the problem is, what about without Jordan Travis? Yeah, because you're not. You're not. That's my exact point. Big Blue Horses for $5. Other snub no-loss teams include Utah, Boise, Auburn, UCF, Penn State, and TCU, to name a few. Media can suck it. Want fairness? No more no human judges. But nobody liked the BCS either. Nobody liked the BCS either. Do you guys understand that it's never going to be good enough for anybody? Because we put rules in place and you still complain that, oh, this isn't good enough. We got hosed. You didn't get hosed.
It's incredible to me that you can't just say, yeah, we did go undefeated. We did win the ACC, but unfortunately the injury to Jordan Travis came at a really tough time. And that really hurts our team's value to the committee. And I understand why, hey, our defense may be really good, but our defense alone is just half of the football. If you're not going to have your offense at full bore, we're not one of the best teams. And it's because of an injury, and that's unfortunate. Like, why do you get a free pass?
And what's really unfortunate is we're not talking about how difficult this must be for Mike Norvell and his football team. We're talking about senators from Florida and the great injustice and process. How bad do you feel for Jordan Travis today? That's got to be the worst pain in the world. Your ankle feels fine. It's your humility that took a beating. That's what's painful, is those kids worked really hard, had a great season, and because of Jordan Travis's injury, they're not going to the college football playoff.
You know.
And yet we're going to sit here and we're going to have Florida State, oh, we got screwed. Okay, you got screwed. Again, and Seminole fan, I ask you directly, when you say you got screwed, what process law rule was broken where the injustice was served against you?
But we're an undefeated conference champion. Our defense is amazing.
Okay, show me where's the paragraph that says our defense is amazing, gets you into the college football playoff? Where's the paragraph that says undefeated conference champion? Oh, that's next year when the automatic qualifiers come out. So next year what's going to be the injustice next year?
That Clemson was better than you?
This is my struggle. And I don't even think Clemson will be better than you. At some point, when do we go back to a real world where we live by results that were had by the rules? When are we going to stop defending Michigan, who won't defend itself? When are we going to say, well, hey, guys, you broke these rules? Yeah, we know, but we're going to sue anyway. And I'm telling you, it's across the board. It's across the board. It's, guys like Rick Scott and other senators buying stock on insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to talk about that. Well, but Florida State got screwed. It's elections. It's all of this stuff where we just don't follow rules anymore unless they help us. But if that rule goes against us, Florida State's got screwed, and we need our senator to talk about, we're going to subpoena and I want access, and get out of here. Like, go do, your state's got so many problems. Go handle that, man. Go handle that. Like, you're worried about the college football playoff. You're worried about NIL. You're worried about, go govern, man. Go govern. I'm so fed up with it's never good enough. When is it ever going to be good enough? At least in the comments section, at least tell me you hear my frustration on this, that it's never good enough. Somebody's always going to sue, subpoena this, subpoena that. A rule's a rule. And just like Michigan, again, just weeks ago, just like Michigan, you can't point to the process or the rule that was broken. There's no injustice. Maybe the rules just didn't break in your favor this time. And maybe you should act like the noble, professional, normal level mentality people you're not. Oh, wait, that's right. You're not. So no. You're gonna talk about, how tough you are, and you're gonna release statements. Do you guys understand how just absolutely ridiculous this statement is? For many of us today, and again, this is Michael Alford, the athletic director at Florida State. For many of us, today's decision by the committee has forever damaged the credibility of the institution that is the college football playoff. Well, then don't fucking take part. We don't ever want to see Florida State in the college football playoff community, where you're just, because there's no credibility here, much like this statement. So you're never going to take part again, right? It's forever damaged. The credibility of the college football playoff is forever damaged. You're never going to take part in this again. Is that correct? Oh, you're not doing interviews. That's right. Nobody can ask you because you're the tough guy that hides behind your statement. It's amazing. Alford continued, quote, they chose predictive competitiveness over proven performance, subjectivity over fact. They have become a committee of prognosticators. Well, sir, they're human beings, and you voted to have your representation. Go complain to NC State. Go complain to Boo Corrigan. He's the guy who had a vote here. Go complain to Boo Corrigan. Don't release statements saying that the college football playoff is forever damaged and lacks credibility. Okay, well, then I don't ever want to see you competing for it. And if you wouldn't mind, make a call to the ACC and have them return the money, because you don't want that unethical money come flowing through Tallahassee, right? I mean, you don't want that. You can't have that at the State University of Florida. We can't have unethical, dirty money because, it's got no. Sure, you'll be happy to cash those checks.
Absolutely.
If you ever make it, won't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you will. I'm so fed up with this. I'm amazed that
we've lost the ability to lose with grace. Meaning, hey, this could have been a coaching opportunity, right? This could have been a growth moment. Like you look at Norvell's statement, or even Jordan Travis, or whatever. Like any of these guys, like this could have been an opportunity to show leadership, to say, yeah, you know what. I am, I'm upset with the decision, but, we had an untimely injury to, one of our best players, a guy who, I thought should have been in the Heisman Trophy conversation, and he's our quarterback, and it's amazing. And, it's unfortunate that he got hurt, but he did get hurt. And because of that, we didn't put up as many points in our conference championship game as we would have liked to, but we still won the game, and we still are ACC champions. So, barring an injury, we would have been in the college football playoff, but we're not. And we're going to handle that, and we're going to move on to the next opportunity that we have. Why can't we just say that? Why can't we just say, hey, look, the process clearly lays out that this committee was put in place to figure out who are the 4 best teams, and next year the 12 best teams to get in to compete for a college football national championship. And it clearly stipulates that injury can be considered in that conversation. Yet you want to sit here and say that you were robbed and an injustice was committed against you, even though you damn well know that Jordan Travis got carted off with a gruesome ankle injury. You damn well know that you way underperformed in your championship game because you didn't have Jordan Travis, and then because you didn't have Rodemaker, so you had a freshman at quarterback. So let's stop being dramatic. Let's learn how to say, hey, you know what? It didn't work out this time. That's it. It didn't work out this time. We did everything we could do. We're 13-0. We're a conference champion. It's really unfortunate. But here at Florida State, we hold ourselves in really high regard, and we'll get after it next season.
Let's see. Ryan Willie gives us $20 to say it's the ESPN Invitational. Really, I hadn't understood that. I thought it was called the College Football Playoff. ESPN pays for the college football playoff, so they feel like they can dictate who's in and who's out. So I'm just curious, where's the evidence of that? This is the other thing I love. Okay, well, man, Florida State's out. We got to find UFOs, biologics. We need them right now to prove that ESPN is colluding with the college football playoff.
Human or non-human?
Where's the evidence? Oh, the Kirk Herbstreit picture. Oh, wow. Yeah, here it is. Here it is with, Michigan and Washington and Texas and Alabama. Never mind, that could be a coincidence. But let me ask you this. Do you really think that ESPN didn't know what the outcome of that was before their broadcast? The one that you say they pay so much money for. Do you think they're just they have a bunch of like elves on the shelf who can just make graphics right away? No doubt about it. No, of course they knew. It's a pre-produced broadcast where the committee votes and ESPN announces the vote on their broadcast, which they pay for. So just because ESPN knew ahead of time, of course they did. Do you really think they're in collusion? So just so I'm clear, because you paid $20 for this ridiculousness, your opinion is they feel like they can dictate who's in and out. And I don't care if FSU got screwed or not. If you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you're going to get screwed. So then what do you say to Texas and Washington? Because if it was just the SEC and the Big Ten, wouldn't we have had Georgia and Alabama and then Ohio State and Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the college foot. Now I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain that's not the college football playoff bracket.
And I think the other thing that's so funny about this Herbstreit thing is this is the same guy, and we played him multiple times last week on the showroom. This is the same guy who goes on this podcast last week talking about how He wants the process to be proper. He wants the 4 best teams. He doesn't want to be nice. He doesn't want to have any type of bias.
No.
I want the 4 best teams that give us the absolute best product on the field. And I truly believe that is what we got this weekend with what was chosen.
So as a guy who calls these games, I don't want to do the right thing. If you talk to Bill Hancock, and we had lots of meetings about this, they're not supposed to do the right thing. They're supposed to, their job is to put the best 4 teams in the playoff. Now, again, it's subjective. Who you think and I think are the best 4 are different, and that's fine. But that's what that group is supposed to do. Not what do we think about ratings? That's bullshit. Put the fucking best 4 teams in the game.
Period.
He says it himself. So when your AD comes out here and puts out a statement talking about how it lacks all credibility and it's subjective, you're damn right it's subjective. That's the task they were given. The task they were given was the 4 best teams, not the right thing, which would have been, oh yeah. So we've got Bama, the SEC champion, Michigan, the Big Ten champion, right? We've got Florida State, the ACC champion, and of course we got Texas. But what about Washington? They're champion. Well, there's not 5 spots, but there were 5 conferences. So what do you say now? This is my point. Your complaint is literally making the point. It's a subjective process. Your quarterback, both 1 and 2, are both out. Number 2 was questionable, come back and wound up not playing because he got whacked in the head. So that's why I say, what are we doing?
I'm just, again, it's what I've said. No rules or process were broken, and your statements point exactly to the fact that the College Football Playoff Committee did precisely what they were charged with doing. Sitting around a table and choosing the 4 best teams in the country by their own opinion.
I mean, dude, if Florida State was a 12-1 conference champion and you were 100% healthy, right? You had Jordan Travis, had the receivers, had everybody, 100%. You were 12-1, and you got snubbed for another 13-0 team, a 13-0 Pac-12 champion instead of you. You'd have been saying, "Oh, you didn't do the right thing. We're better than them." Well, how can you say that? You're 12-1, not 13-0. So you just want it both ways. And actually, what we should be saying is you want it any way that favors you. And you're going to stop at nothing until you get some type of answer.
And the best part about the comments about how ESPN's colluding with the college football playoff, if they were colluding, would they not stick it to the Pac-12? I mean, they're partners. They're partners literally by contract. ESPN is partnered with the ACC. You understand that, right? They're under contract to broadcast ACC games.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they want Florida State in if they were colluding? They're not under contract with the Big Ten. They're not under contract with the Pac-12. Wouldn't they want, hey, let's make sure the SEC gets 2, and let's make sure that Florida State gets in, guys. Okay, well, whoever else you want to pick, go ahead. Just remember, collusion, we say they get in. They would put what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, do you think through the stuff that you say? Open the garage door before you turn
Sometimes
the car
I think
on.
I just say shit. Sample what comes out of my mouth.
Okay, couple more. Let's see how bad it gets. Net neutrality.
Oh.
Remember the last time we put an iffy, underrated FSU team in the playoff? Can't fool us twice, FSU. It doesn't even matter at that point. It's not the last time. It is today.
Which is what I think Florida State fan especially doesn't want to talk about. I'm with you. If you want to say, hey, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, we were one of the best teams in the country. Now, that's never been my opinion. I always thought you played a soft schedule, always thought you underperformed, thought you barely scraped by a mediocre-ass Clemson team. But that's just my opinion, right? Maybe I'm wrong. So let's just assume when you were 100% healthy, you were a college football playoff caliber team. We have to get back to being able to say, yeah, you know what? This time it just didn't work out. But our players gave their damnedest. And when I look at Norvell's statement, he talks about how, hey, our players, they busted their ass out there. And, do you tell players it's okay to quit? Well, no, Mike, we don't tell people it's okay to quit. We don't tell people that, it's not worth it to play the game. It is worth it to play the game. And in fact, that's why you're not in the college football playoff. You got hurt trying to get there. And sometimes that's part of it. We don't complain about like other leagues where injuries happen. Dude, we're not complaining tonight when you have a backup starting for the Bengals. We're not complaining about that. It's the NFL.
It's football.
That's what happens.
And football hurts.
Yeah.
Football hurts. Lopes fan Gabe, at least with the BCS, we were left debating the 2 best teams. Now we're debating who are the 4 best teams. What are we doing here? Well, I think it's excellent for college football. That's what we're doing, right? Like, and what's going to happen next year? What's going to happen next year when it's a 5-7 mile and we got to debate the 7 best teams left in the country? Do you think this gets better or worse? Or I'm telling you, it doesn't get better. It does not get better.
For all these people saying, well, why don't they just adopt the NFL model? Go to the NFL model where everything's decided on the field and we don't have human beings with all their bias and, subjectivity. That's the catchphrase now. There's subjectivity in these decisions. Yeah, you know what the problem with that is? The NFL doesn't have to worry about P4 or G5. There are way too many teams in college football to adopt the NFL model.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that. And as far as this speech going around, the internet all weekend about how Mike Leach is talking about how he would have had a 64 team, football playoff and all this junk. You're not doing a 64 round March Madness football tournament. You're not doing that. That's just, it takes way too much time. We can't play, 3 football games a week for the same team. That doesn't work.
I'm telling you, the system's not rigged and it works just fine. It works. All this is people in power don't like being told no. And so if there's a rule in place that tells them no, they're just going to try and flip that rule.
By the way, do you hear Georgia?
Plain and simple.
Do you hear Georgia doing what you guys are doing? Georgia's not complaining. Now, did Kirby make his case after the game? Well, sure, because of course that's your responsibility as a head coach to make the best case you can.
But the Georgia senators aren't subpoenaing people.
Yeah, you're not getting your AD sending all these scathing letters and stuff. Like, dude, just stop. Just stop, bro.
C Black for $5. You all really need to go look at the NFL mock drafts this year. To think Michigan, Texas, or Alabama is more talented. Whoever said they were more talented? I never said they were more talented. What did I say? I said they were a better team than you. Alabama's defense is better than Florida State's defense. Michigan and Ohio State and Texas is a better football team than Florida State.
Yes.
It's that simple. Xavier Worthy's injury is a big deal. It's a big deal, man. And I'm just telling JT Sanders stepped right up, picked up the receiving yards, targets, blocked like I'm just going to ask, have you guys ever heard of Ollie Gordon? Because
who's that?
I didn't see him Saturday. Oh, he was there. He was there, but he got his ass handed to him by the best defensive line he's seen and might be one of the best defensive lines in the country.
That's right. When you're in the first quarter and you're on the sidelines yelling at the top of your throat to, Texas can go F itself or F Texas, and then you get popped multiple times in the game. Yeah, probably shouldn't be running your mouth against Texas. And I'm just telling you guys, dude, Texas is one of those brands that everyone hates. It's just as Michigan
It is.
I think nobody gives a damn about Washington. Nobody knows Washington. They don't know how good that arm is on Michael Penix. But what I'm telling you is this situation with Florida State needs to stop. It needs to stop. And we need to get some coaching lessons in how to handle this with grace, because we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, totally agree. We do not lose gracefully anymore at all. UW fan Jim says, if it's just the best four, why no Geo? Go Real Dogs. What do you mean, why no Geo? Why would there? So you're killing me. Logan for $2. You're missing the obvious. Florida State is America's team. They are. I mean, forget
America's team.
Forget the Wolverines. It's the Seminoles for sure.
Doesn't get any more red, white, and blue than that.
Ryan Willie for $5. Did you see Harbaugh crap himself after he found out they play Bama in the college football playoff? Well, they are just glad they didn't have to play Florida State.
Because I know Florida State's the best team in the country.
I did see that the entire room was like, oh.
Via social media.
And then there was like, oh, wait, we need to clap. All right. Oh, we're excited. Okay. Who's got Connor's number? Let's get him going.
Sign Steeler guy.
It's amazing. They clearly had pain. Hellabilly for $2. The only team screwed by dumb rules is JMU. Totally agree. C Black for $10 more. You guys need to learn the facts. Jake, if you could learn the facts.
Please learn me,
Jake,
please.
Yes. This narrative started before Travis got hurt with Kirk. Go look at the game day the morning before the injury. Nobody cares about before Jordan Travis got hurt.
And what narrative are you talking about, dude?
Stop playing the victim. The rule is the rule. And again, C Black, I just ask you directly. There's a stipulation in the selection process that says if you have injured players, we're allowed to consider that. So what rules were broken? And again, if you're going to hang your hat on the subjectivity post, I would remind you, your guy was involved in picking human beings. The ACC is one of the most powerful conferences in the country and has a significant hand, including Boo Corrigan, sitting on the selection committee. So what process screwed Florida State? None. And there is no narrative that's been going on for months to keep Florida State out. If Florida State with Jordan Travis had been undefeated and he was healthy today, you'd be in the college football playoff.
Oh, that's right. But he's not healthy, so you're not.
My guess is Texas would be on the outside looking in.
And then we would be getting letters from Longhorn country.
We would.
Actually, we probably wouldn't because they're going to the SEC, and this year was just a cherry on top anyway.
Yeah, I'm amazed by it. I am. Ryan Willie, Washington heading to the Big Ten and Texas to the SEC.
Yep.
So you paid $5 for that.
Yay!
Harry Austin, a member for 6 months. Thank you, Harry.
Oh, okay.
You're ignoring that Texas to the SEC and Washington to the Big Ten, so that is why your argument fails on this. Hey, it's the Pac-12. No, it actually doesn't. So wait, let me get this right. The Big 12, who's in business with ESPN contract, well, wait, but they would want to.
Yeah.
Why would you? So what destroys my narrative? Again, I would say Washington to the Big Ten. What time slot in Big Ten football games is on ESPN or ABC? Exactly none. So when they want to keep Washington out, because, well, Washington is just a Pac-10. I mean, when you want to keep Washington out, ESPN, because they're colluding with the college football playoff, which they're not. Why would they want to help Washington get in? They're not in business with the Pac-12 now. And they're only helping the Pac-12 in the future, who they're not in business with either. The Pac-2, the Mountain Pac West, whatever it's going to be. They're not.
You are what you are.
They're not in business with them. And if you heard the post game where all the Texas fans were chanting SEC, are you really trying to make sure that Texas gets in? I mean, how does that undo my argument? If you were truly trying to help yourself and collude with the college football playoff, I think in any scenario, whether they deserved it or not, you'd have Texas in. The one you'd be arguing about is Washington. You'd be trying to keep Washington out. Washington not only got in, they're the number 2 seed. They're the number 2 seed out of the Pac-12. You're crazy. Why would ESPN, who's got contracts with everybody but the Big Ten, why would they want Florida State out and Washington in? Why on earth would ESPN want Florida State out? That's the argument that you're fighting for TV ratings. So what you're saying, Florida State, is you recognize you don't draw the TV ratings that the other 4 do. Oh, it's subjectivity so that they can sell ads. Florida State, you're saying you don't sell ads.
That's bullshit.
And you're saying that you don't bring fans to the TV.
No.
I'm not saying that. Well, actually, isn't that what you said? Because
I'm not talking about that.
You're saying that Texas is a better football brand than you are, and Alabama is a better football brand than you are, because that's why ESPN. That's the only thing that makes sense. Bob Iger's a lot of things. He ain't stupid, so he'd be colluding with to make sure to keep Florida State out. Oh, because nobody
Oh, what are you
watches your-
talking about, man?
your games, and you're a small brand. What are you talking about? They would be trying to help you, not hurt
Bro,
you.
you guys are spending so much time justifying why FSU should be in. You're missing the point here, bro.
Very much.
Bro, who's the number 1 seed? America's team. The Michigan Wolverines have found their way through.
Yep.
How is nobody talking about this? How is nobody talking about the coaching job done by Nick Saban this year? This guy's in the college football playoff and had to beat Georgia to do it, and you want to come bark up my tree about an average-ass Florida State team? I don't. We're distracted. We're just simply distracted. We're missing the most important conversations in the college football playoff because we have victimhood over here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, totally agree. It's remarkable to me. Let's see. Matt Ritson for $2. Which commissioner, WITCH, was booed after games by the fans? Well, it was Brett Yormark. Was that just you didn't know the answer to that, or
who? I have to say, when I was watching that, that's the first time I've ever seen Brett just a little bit.
Oh,
rattled.
he was shook. There's no doubt.
He was rattled.
He was shook. There's no doubt about that. MJ Bissett, only conference champions, you can do it.
No, dude, that's next year.
Yeah, that's not this year. Next year.
So what do you mean?
Duck season for $2. Penix fumbled the ball. Pac-12 ref can rest in peace. Well, the problem for you is Washington was the better team. Washington is the better team. Bo Nix played one of the worst games of the season, and Michael Penix did not. You got beat by a better team.
I did not think that was a fumble.
And Dan Lanning should be apologizing and refunding season ticket deposits because he beat you 2 games in a row against Washington. I think he was terrible again. I think the play calling was terrible again. I think your defense was out of position on several critical situations. And I think that you should probably, and again, this is just my opinion.
Lil Monty over here.
You should probably learn how to run the ball against Washington's front 7 because you got physically dominated up front.
Stay hard.
It had nothing to do with a fumble that wasn't a fumble, even though, again, you're going to say you got screwed by the refs because it couldn't possibly be Washington was a better team. And they beat you twice in a row.
Have a nice day.
Because they were the better team. Pretty cut and dry. UW fan Jim, if Duck cries in the rain, does anyone care? They don't. They don't. Tarrant County, Pete. Hey, Pete.
Oh, God.
FSU is this year's Cincinnati.
Oh, God.
The committee has learned their lesson on perfect records against lesser competition.
On to Cincinnati.
But again, I don't think this has anything to do with their competition. It is very clear when you have a true freshman who looked terrified, speaking of pissing himself, he looked terrified, and you couldn't throw the ball 55 yards.
How?
You're not one of the 4 best teams in the country.
But wait, you have all your running backs, right? Because this is the defense. Hey, we've got our defense, and we've got our Keon Coleman's and our Johnny Travis, and we've got our running backs. But you only put up, what was it, 16 points? And threw for 55
16-6 in one of the worst games I've ever watched at a championship level.
So if you were such a complete team and such a dominant team, as I believe it, your AD said, we had a dominant performance in the ACC championship game.
Johnny Wilson, 2 catches, 21 yards.
Jesus, that is the most dominating thing I've never seen.
Keon Coleman, 4 for 19 yards. And it's so I'm just going to be redundant again. If Jordan Travis was healthy and you won this game, my guess is you probably would have scored twice as many points.
Yeah, you're probably 35 points in this game.
And you'd be in the college football playoff.
Yes.
That simple. It has nothing to do with people hating Florida State, even though they do.
Nothing to do with Cincinnati or ESPN colluding.
Just saying. You can't, when you look at Florida State, and here's something else that Florida State fan on Twitter did not want to talk about yesterday. What's the big win for you? Well, non-con, it's LSU. Okay, LSU, the amazing LSU Tigers, who were a 3-loss team this year. That doesn't help you, right? So then it's Southern Miss, Clemson on the road, decent, not great win. Clemson was a 4-loss team. Syracuse, Duke was a 5-loss team. Wake, Pitt, Miami, directional Alabama, Florida, who you struggled to beat. And again, I would remind you that Florida, Urban, they're not coming through that door anytime soon. I mean, not to be the bearer of bad news, they're a 7-loss team. And you almost became their not 7th, like the 6-6.
By the way,
bowl win.
If you're such a great team, even though you looked awful against Florida, but if you're such a great team, prove it. Georgia's coming. You're meeting Georgia in Florida, right? Hard Rock Stadium, Miami. Show me that you can lose by less than 20 to that team, because I'm telling you that ain't happening. That team's putting 40 on you. I am confident in that. You think that team's just going to roll in there and be like, yeah, man, we got Sabinated, so season's over. You think they're not looking to prove a point? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yep. Tom Dean, Sagarin Computer strength of schedule, Texas 4, Washington 5, Bama 12, Michigan 56, Florida State 61. Yeah. Get the computers out.
Great, dude. Cool. We don't use computers anymore. Get over it. We don't use computers anymore. We have a college football playoff committee that is subjective and is tasked with getting the 4 best teams. And by the way, that argument doesn't hold up for Florida State, because Florida State's 55th in the nation for strength of schedule. So that doesn't exactly work for you.
This comes down to human beings made a decision that you don't like. That's
Precisely.
what it is. Dakota Tubbs, Eli Drinkwitz, who I thought really embarrassed himself. I thought after the season that Missouri had, I feel like he humiliated himself. I truly, truly do. Has Connor Stallions on speed dial. He made a joke about, I just think it's embarrassing, dude. That was not Missouri's finest moment. You're going to play Ohio State, so you're going to take a jab at Michigan. I don't know that. Maybe I don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong. I didn't get the sense he was even trying to take a jab at Michigan with it.
Oh, please.
I think what he was doing is he was merely pointing out that, hey, we're playing Ohio State. Let me make
Connor
a joke
Stallions
about it.
calling, I have to go.
Yeah, he was making a joke about, hey, we're playing Ohio State, and he was joking about the whole situation.
I thought it was in bad form. I thought it was in bad form. Again,
I mean, there haven't been, to your point, there haven't been a lot of other coaches that have brought up
because you don't talk about it.
Even the name Connor Stallions.
Because nobody's perfect. Nobody's clean. Eli, what skeletons are in your closet? Like you just don't do that. I thought it was in bad form. But again, I have no sense of humor and I'm old, remember? And I'm supposedly Mormon. I'm not.
You don't always have to be negative.
And I'm going to die soon. Don't forget that part too. Appreciate you. If FSU wants to blame your commissioner. He was one of 3 that voted to start the 12-team playoff next year. You could add a 12-team playoff this year, by the way. And the ACC voted against it. So FSU will get 0 credit for beating an unmotivated Georgia team in the bowl, MJ Bissett says. Well,
I got news. I don't think they're unmotivated, my man.
I don't think Georgia's unmotivated at all. I could be wrong. Midnight Magic Musings, a member for 6 months on the show.
Let's go, baby.
When can we talk Liberty Bowl?
Why are we talking? Why, dude?
I actually
think
some of the Liberty or some of the bowl matchups this year have been very good. And I would appreciate it if you would call it the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. With Memphis and Iowa State. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I just saw the AutoZone banner. It is what it is, right? Eric Wasikowski from
Wasikowski.
He's from Plymouth Canton.
Yeah.
The Jets versus Falcons was more entertaining. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah, we're focused on the Jets today.
Let's not get carried away. Did you guys hear that Zachy Poo is begging the Jets to let him get another shot at quarterback? Begging.
Yes.
You can beg, my man, but I don't think they're going to give you a shot. I don't. I mean, the only shot you should probably be after is from Bucked Up, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Bucked Up Energy, the official energy product you guys know by now, is Buckshot. And our fine friends at Bucked Up also gave us an extension on the sample. We've given so many people 6 free samples of Buckshot, which, elite ingredients, 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine. So it's not chemicals that create a reaction similar to caffeine, which you can find in many other energy shots. No. 200 milligrams naturally sourced caffeine with a bunch of brain food that gives you a nice little rise mentally so you can get through that last pivot table on your Excel spreadsheet, that last big presentation, the sales meeting. You got to go pick the kids up, and maybe you're a little short on patience today. Hit a Buckshot 20 minutes before you pick the kids up. You're going to feel great. You're going to do great. Buckshot is designed so that you can have your best day every day. Usually 20 minutes ago, but every day at this time on the show, we pop when the spit is strong. Yeah. Bucked Up Energy, the presenting sponsor of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship over this past weekend. That takes some balls.
I don't have those balls.
Did you guys see some of the visuals out of the BKFC, it's called?
I'll drop that motherfucker.
Put on some gloves. That is that is amazing. But get in the description below. Get your 6 free Buckshots. They'll send them right to your front door for free. Hook it up, buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty.
Dad?
Honey, what's wrong?
I got in an accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do? Or...
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day. And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
Florida State and Clemson story joining the Big 12, and the people tweeting over the weekend that this is happening within a year. Exactly how is this happening? And I think if you've watched this show for any amount of time, we've worked very hard to be accurate. Whether we are first or last, we've worked very hard to be accurate on this show about college football expansion, NBA trade talks, the things we talk about on this show. We talk about from a position of sourcing and information. And I can tell you, talking to sources around the Big 12, talking to sources in the TV industry who probably have the most to do with this, even more than those in college football, nobody believes that there is an agreement in place. Nobody believes that there is a clear path for Florida State and Clemson to join the Big 12 a year from now, 5 years from now. And again, before we get into the details of this, I just want to ask you, why are you so easily baited on this stuff? I've never understood it. Over 100 people on Twitter sent me Jason Shear's embarrassing tweet about how, this is done, or it's not done. Nobody in the Big 12, not a single person in the Big 12 is telling anyone that Florida State and Clemson are joining the Big 12, not now, let alone a year from now. That's just not the case. That's not happening. There is no mechanism, and that is the wording that was used directly to me by not one but 2 people, TV and football sources, telling me many weeks ago, there is no mechanism for Florida State and Clemson to leave the ACC. They have let it be known that they are not going to buy their way out of the conference. And if you're not going to buy your way out of the conference, you will need to do one of 2 things. Find 10 fellow members to break the grant of rights to essentially melt the ACC down so that you can then go and join another conference. They've not been able to do that. And trust me when I tell you, Florida State and Clemson have tried to find 10 total members to break the grant of rights. They failed repeatedly. They are now also in court, as you are well aware. And I think people, and this is my opinion, I think people read far too much into the court's decision to give Florida State an unredacted copy of the ESPN broadcast agreement between the ACC and ESPN. A judge ruled last week that Florida State shall be given an unredacted copy of that contract. And I think people thought this was checkmate. I think people believe that there is some smoking gun in this contract. Do you think that the ACC and ESPN did not know that this was eventually going to be the outcome? Because there is no legal precedent to prevent Florida State from getting an unredacted copy of the contract that currently impacts them financially. There's no legal mechanism. There are contractual obligations that this judge agreed means that Florida State gets an unredacted copy of this contract. Now, also go back and read the limitations that are on Florida State. They had to agree to a confidentiality agreement, and they are not allowed to share that document with anybody else. So it's not like the judge said, well, you can just put this out on the interwebs. This was the eventual outcome. But this does not mean that Florida State won anything. This does not mean that there was a ruling in favor of Florida State. All this means is Florida State, and by extension Clemson, are moving through the process of litigation. They've won nothing. So again, I will tell you, there is no mechanism for Florida State and Clemson to leave the ACC. They are bound by two deals. They are bound by the grant of rights, and they are bound by the ACC charter. They have no way to get out of that, and no judge has given them that. So I think this is a lot of hyperbole. The idea, and try this on for size, the idea that the reporting is Florida State and Clemson are leaving the ACC to join the Big 12 within a year. He said within a year. Do you understand the splatter that is, the guesswork that is? And I'm not trying to be an asshole about this, but I just continue to ask you, why do you do this? Why do you put yourself in this position? Why do you believe when there is no legal precedent, there is no path? Right now, ask yourself this. How legally, how contractually, what does it look like for Florida State and Clemson to make a decision? And not even just the guy tweeting that within a year they're going to join the Big 12. Ask yourself this. What about all the people saying that they're going to announce at ACC Media Days that they are leaving the conference after 2024-25? A year from now, they're leaving the conference. So I ask you, how would that even be possible? How would it be possible? ACC Media Days coming up within a week. How would it be possible for Florida State and Clemson to announce their exit from the conference? And again, I ask one more time, why is everybody comparing Oklahoma and Texas to Florida State and Clemson? It tells you that people don't know what they're talking about. They're two completely different situations. And I think all this is, Jake, is grasping at straws.
100%. And I also think you got to consider the fact that we're in the slow time of sports season. So guys need stuff to write about. Guys need stuff to talk about. Guys need stuff to, create quote unquote content with. And I think that, again, your best point, in my opinion, is where does this artificial timeline of, hey, they're leaving the conference inside of a year, within a year, or a year from now even come from? And I think that's the thing that you as a sports fan have to kind of look for in reporting. Like if somebody says, hell yeah, we know, like we've been told by staffers or by people in the know that they're leaving in a year. Well, if they could leave in a year, why wouldn't they just leave now? Or why wouldn't they have left? Like, it doesn't add up. And I think that we get so caught up in the meltdown of these conferences. Like if you go back and think about just how much vitriol and how much celebration I feel like there was when the Pac-12 kind of melted down, like people were all about it. And I think about the passion that the Oregon State fans had for their situation, how pissed they were. Like, this is right up that same alley. Like, we're sitting here looking at a situation where you've got two of the best teams in the ACC on the football field, not happy with their situation, but also having signed the grant of rights twice, trying to now get out of that contract. And there's just no way to do that. We've seen this time and time again. This is not the first time we've been on the, hey, we want to leave our conference train. This is not the first time that this conversation has been had in the history of college football. So I don't know why people gravitate so hard to one tweet or one guy who is rarely right about anything saying that this conference is going to, I guess, burn down in a year. Because by saying Clemson and Florida State are leaving in a year, you're saying the ACC is pretty much done. Because if Clemson and Florida State leave, everybody else is going to leave too.
And I think this is why I don't read DMs. I don't reply. I don't interact on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, because it just leads to ridiculousness. The hundreds of people who sent me all of these tweets. Jason Shear's tweet talking about how, and I think the exact verbiage in his tweet was something to the effect of people in the Big 12 are saying or believe or that Clemson and Florida State will join the Big 12 within a year. And listen, believe it or not, I really don't care what I think you guys know that by now. I really don't care what people think. We talk to as many people in the Big 12 as anybody in this business. I think we demonstrated our connections during Big 12 expansion, and Jason has as well. I don't have a bone to pick with Jason Shear. I'm not trying to pick on him specifically. I look at all of the reporting. There's not a person in the Big 12 that I can find who believes Clemson and Florida State will ever be a member of the conference. I can't, and that includes Arizona. We are brilliantly, strongly connected in Arizona and Arizona State communities. Like, at the top of the table, we are connected. None of them believe that Clemson and Florida State will ever be members of the league. I can't find a single fucking person in this league who was like, oh yeah, it's happening within a year. Not one, not a single one. And I furthermore can't find anybody in TV at any network, at any ad agency, anywhere who believes that Florida State and Clemson are going to ever be members of the Big 12. There simply is, as people have said repeatedly, and I'm assuming it's written in a document somewhere, but there is no mechanism for Florida State and the ACC or Florida State and Clemson to leave the ACC and join the Big 12. It's right now not even possible.
Yeah.
And then you have to ask yourself, if you go by extension, what is the logic if you are Florida State and Clemson to leave the ACC and join the Big 12? What are you going to make more money? Not currently. Now, I believe that every year going forward, the Big 12 will distribute more and more money. They're simply too aggressive in the commercial markets, and they are too aggressive in relationship building not to earn and make and distribute more money. There's no question about that. But this completely writes off the Super League premise.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're Florida State and Clemson, logically think through this. If a year from now we're leaving the conference, which is what a ton of people have reported, that I want to be careful. I'm not trying to, be grandiose over the top. Several people have reported that at ACC Media Day, they are going to announce a year from now they're leaving the conference. And I just ask you, how would they make that announcement now? Number one. But number two, if it is a year from now and they're going to join the Big 12 a year from now, the question I ask is, why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. Nobody in their right mind would. Yeah.
Because you're going to have options, right? And I'm telling you, this shit is completely, it's garbo. It's not happening. If I frankly hope it does, because I would love to see this unfold.
Because it's garbage.
But explain to me why a year from now you would join the Big 12. Because certainly Florida State, Clemson to a lesser extent, Florida State can write its own ticket in football. And I would also remind you, they're a pretty prolific basketball program, and they're awfully good at stick and ball sports. They can write their own ticket. Why would they choose the Big 12? They can go to the SEC. They absolutely can. Florida, the Gators will pitch a fit, bitch and moan. They're about making money in the SEC, which I wish everybody else was about, because these conversations would be much clearer. But Florida State can go wherever it wants, and they want the SEC, from what I am told.
And I love the premise and all the reporting of this story that people think that they would only go to the Big 12 because they're so desperate to leave their conference. Like, oh, well, they're so desperate to get out that they're going to jump to the Big 12, ignoring the fact that it's not even possible for them to leave the conference, number one. But number two, the idea that in addition to that reporting, you would say they would go to the Big 12 as a full share member right out of the gate is incredible to me, dude. It's incredible to me that you think that, number one, it's just assumed that the Big 12 would just hat in hand, bend the knee to Clemson and Florida State, and would just love to have them, and whatever those two want, the Big 12 is going to shell out because somehow the Big 12 is like a lesser conference. I agree the Big 12 is not making the money that, the Big 10 and the SEC are making. We all agree on that. It's pretty clear. But the Big 12 is its own conference. They do their own thing. They've got a very clear vision for where they want to go. So when I was looking at all this reporting, this is what stood out to me, that you're not only saying they're going to leave in this artificial year timeline, you're saying they're going to the Big 12 as a full share member day one, which we just haven't seen.
And again, all of this believes that a grant of rights you've tried to get out of, and let's be conservative, I think they've been trying to break that grant of rights in earnest with all of their effort for 3 years now. Not been able to do it. They signed it not once, but twice, and have not been able to prove the rest. So they've given up. Florida State and Clemson have given up on we were out of our goddamn mind when we signed the second extension. 2, the ACC has damaged us, fiduciary responsibility, Stanford, SMU, we should have been in the college football playoff. That's quite literally and figuratively their argument. And that the grant of rights in the contract, because remember, again, and I just continue to tell you this, if you want to smoke out the guys who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, it's the guys who don't understand the grant of right and the TV deal are two totally different contracts.
Right.
The grant of rights again is between the universities and the conference. That's it. The TV contract is between the conference and the TV network. They're two totally different beings, two totally different documents. And yet people can't get their heads around that. If you didn't learn that in the Pac-12 meltdown, I don't know when you'll ever learn that, because that was the living example of how grant of rights and TV contracts are separate.
Well, and I think this grants of rights situation also has a big impact on the Big 10 and the SEC. Like if you're a school in one of those two conferences and you're looking, obviously A, at the Pac-12 situation over the summer, but then B, this ACC situation, I would think that's why guys like Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are so incentivized to create a new model that works to appease their members, right? Because the thing is, these two are businessmen. This would include Brett Yormark, right? These three guys are businessmen trying to run not only a profitable business, but a healthy business. And it's not good business anymore to be committing, to this sort of structure with the grant of rights and a TV contract and bringing it together.
It's interesting you bring that up, because another point that was made to me by a source in the Big 12 was, if you're Florida State and Clemson, is it smart business for you to be making an arrangement with the Big 12 today to be saying, oh, yeah, handshake, we'll join your conference as soon as we're done with this. That's a terrible business decision. Like, you're not doing that. Now, these are also people who have made terrible business decisions, signing the extension of their grant of rights.
Right.
Right? But it's terrible business when you're in the middle of litigation that doesn't have a clear ending, when your conference is divided, that you would go and make an agreement with the lowest revenue generating league available to you. When by other reports, the Big Ten and the SEC are interested in Florida State and Clemson. And all of this to say, did anybody ask North Carolina and Duke what their opinion is? Because they're the ones that are going to ultimately make this or break this.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're trying to report that a year from now, Florida and Clemson or Florida State and Clemson are leaving the ACC, you're saying the conference is going to burn down in a year. Like,
right.
If those two leave, this conference is in meltdown mode, like, instantly. Like, again, UNC and Duke are out for sure. At that point, then obviously you're going to take a good hard look at what Notre Dame is going to decide to do.
Who are the other six? Like, this is where I truly believe people sit around and they're like, well, the Virginia schools in Louisville, and you don't have 10 members of the ACC willing to say today, I'm out. You don't have that. And again, the ACC lives and dies on Tobacco Road. We can huff and puff with Florida State. Multiple people have told me Clemson just carries no weight. Clemson carries no weight. I believe the things that I hear about Clemson when I am told by important, substantive people that Clemson's brand is significantly damaged by Dabo Swinney.
And I don't know why anybody would respect Dabo Swinney. I mean, it's the Alabama situation, right? Like, Dabo was the first guy in his khakis and his orange sweater knocking on Alabama's door, trying to be the successor to Nick Saban, and Alabama didn't want anything to do with that. And it's very clear, and I think it does impact other conversations. If you're not going to be an proactive personality in your conference when it comes to, the way the game is being played now with NIL and portal and the new age of money and everything that's going on, and Dabo hasn't been that guy, Clemson's not going to walk into a college football playoff meeting, an ACC conference meeting, and all of a sudden be everyone's All-American. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Florida State, you understand their value. They're a college football playoff team. Like, you get it, right? Stick and ball sports, you get it. But with Clemson, I'm not sure that Dabo is regarded as some amazing guy.
Maybe the word of the day is damaged goods.
Yeah, right?
Who is Clemson? Zach LaVine?
Yeah.
Clemson is damaged goods right now. All of that to say, just slow your roll. You have to let this litigation play out. Do you understand the amount of money that Florida State has spent on this litigation? The man hours at the state employee level. Do you understand the number of man hours that have been spent by Florida State at the state employee level? It's astronomical. They're tens of millions of dollars in fees, man hours, salaries. They're tens of millions of dollars into this ACC lawsuit.
So you're complaining you're not making enough money, but then on the other hand, you're happy to just burn a hole paying for litigation.
It's remarkable the amount of assets and resources Florida State has deployed into this lawsuit to then put the cart before the horse and announce you're leaving the conference at ACC Media Day.
And I also might add, just logically speaking, if you're Florida State and Clemson, you can't honestly expect Duke and UNC to follow you on this charade in the court system. They've got better things.
But
to
again,
do.
a really good example. North Carolina was joining the lawsuit. They didn't.
Yeah, where's that?
Why? And again, I know this is common sense, and I'm the asshole, and I totally get it. Why would anybody else in this conference spend a penny to join the Florida State Clemson lawsuit? Is it going to help that case? It's not. Adding every member of the ACC to this lawsuit would not strengthen their case, right? And again, If you're Florida State and Clemson, you need 8 other members to get out of the grant of rights. None of the other teams in the conference are joining your lawsuit to this point or willing to be one of 10 and leave the conference.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to watch you burn tens of millions of dollars litigating this case on their behalf. Because if all of these ACC members are so wildly unhappy, and when we say all, let's be very careful here. When Florida State and Clemson, when the Carolina schools and Duke, to a lesser extent Miami, are so unbelievably unhappy, why aren't they joining the lawsuit? Why aren't they spending their money? Because they don't have to. And I think most of the members of the ACC understand who they are and where they are. And I think Clemson doesn't. And I think now, and this goes back to the Kyle Whittingham comments last week. Kyle Whittingham basically said, hey, yeah, we're heading for a Super League. And I tell you, apply this comment from Kyle Whittingham while thinking about the ACC and how a year or so, and again, I just want to make sure, because I'm guessing people are freaking out about it. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. I in no way, shape, or form have been told or believe that Florida State and Clemson are leaving the ACC this week, or that a year or so from now will join the Big 12. But ask yourself, in the context of Florida State and Clemson leaving the ACC and the ACC melting down, who do you believe? The interwebs or Kyle Whittingham?
So much change already, and there's more on the horizon. I can tell you that. We're not done. I think it's ultimately going to get to 2 super conferences and their own playoff system, and probably break away from the NC2A, have a commissioner and all. An NFL minor league model, I think, is where we're heading in that regard.
There you go. Kyle Whittingham on 365 Sports.
Like, what else do you need to see? I mean, this is I can't think of a better way to say it, dude. Like, you have a D1 Power 4, like, big wig
college football playoff contender.
Yeah. Like, come on, man. What, like, UNC and Duke and all these other big wigs in the ACC don't have motivation to get on board your little charade over here, as I like to call it. There's no point.
And as it was pointed out to me over the weekend, did everybody just forget about the lawsuit, the NIL lawsuit, and the tens of millions of dollars these schools each have to spend on settling that case? So if you're North Carolina, Duke, Miami, North Carolina State, are you going to jump onto another tens of millions of dollars worth of a bill and expense on top of your NIL settlement? No, you're not going to do that. There's no reason for you to do that. So all I ask of you, and we're going to get to the comment section, and you guys are going to lose your shit, and I get it. I don't know what I'm talking about. My sources are all, trust me, bro. Totally understand. I get it. This is why I don't get involved in Twitter. This is why I don't read notifications or DMs. Sorry if you've DM'd me, and I saw, and I will give. I want to say his name is Sparkle Jimmy. It's Sparkle.
Hey, Jimmy.
Sparkle James, who is a Florida State fan who has found alternative means for sanity, as I believe he put it. Sparkle James is the one guy's DM that I read. Because yesterday when I logged in to look at my DMs, I had roughly 375 DMs. And just taking a cursory view, at least 100 of them were, dude, did you see this tweet? And it is, and I'm happy for Jason Shearer. I mean, that guy breaks his ass to be an independent. And if you guys don't know Jason Shearer, I would encourage you to go read his stuff on Arizona. He is by far the best Arizona guy.
Yeah.
It's not even close. I thought he was really good on the Pac-12 situation. He was obviously really good on this Bobby Robbins situation. Like, Jason Shearer does good work, which is why it's so surprising to me that he's tweeting about sources in the Big 12 believe Florida State and Clemson will join the league in a year or so.
So take a look at that wording, though, and that was the other point I wanted to make. The word, I love when reporters, and nothing against Jason, anybody that I see in the landscape, right? I love when I see the word sources believe X is going to happen. So you're telling me that someone told you that the opinion is that X item may or may not happen. Not, hey, I've been definitively told it is going to happen or it's not going to happen. Just that people believe it will happen.
Correct.
That would be like Woj tweeting, yeah, I believe that sources believe, Lauri Markkanen's going to get traded to the Dallas Stars in the NHL.
In a year or so.
In a year or so. Like, what are we doing, dude? Come on.
It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. And hey, man, I say more power to you.
And by the way, this is the type of thing that the Big 12 can't get wrapped up in. I just want to point that out too. The Big 12 can't afford to have, some rain cloud chilling over the conference as it pertains to expansion or realignment. Can't have that.
And I also think this is why the majority of people I spoke to about this were much more interested in talking about a super league, and we're much more like the first person I spoke to about this went directly to what Kyle Whittingham said. And I agree with the sentiment that that's not a year or so away. That's actively happening. The structure for a super league, 2 super conferences, whatever you want to call it, that's actively in the works.
Consolidation so we can all make more money.
Florida State and Clemson joining the Big 12 is not actively in the works. And it's on the channel. Go back and watch it if you like. It's what I told you 3 months ago. Brett Yormark and his emissaries are talking to everybody. And if we look back at history, what we reported during the Pac-12 meltdown, Brett Yormark has done an exceptional job of building a network of relationships with BYU and Utah. Tom Homo acting as a conduit for communication between the Big 12 and Utah. It's exactly how he does business. We told you then what we'll tell you now. Brett Yormark has talked to everybody in the ACC. I understand that Florida State and Clemson, because of their litigation, they're the sexy one to pick on. Knock yourself out, man. They're not in any way, shape, or form in a position to say, yeah, we'll join your league in a year or so. Give us a year or so and we'll join your league.
Why don't you call me back? Let's set up a Google Calendar reminder for a year from now, and we can talk about signing the paperwork.
There's no...
Come on.
And I just will continue to say, the money doesn't make sense. Use common sense. Does the money make sense for Florida State to pass on an SEC or a Big Ten invite? Because anybody that thinks the Big Ten or the SEC, and I think it's the SEC, it's just my opinion based on people I've spoken to, that the SEC is the only fit for Florida State. Does anybody think that the SEC is going to pass on Florida State? Just a straw poll here on little old Monty Show.
Right.
Does anybody here think that the SEC passes on Florida State?
No.
Because I can't see that happening. And if you're Florida State, are you taking the Big 12 over the SEC? Now, in Bobby Bowden's times, Bobby Bowden straight up said, yeah, we chose the ACC over the SEC because it was an easier path. Well, that's no longer the path. That's no longer the BCS isn't here anymore. And I think we learned something last year. The ACC is not exactly the easiest path, even if you are undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if you ask Norvell and the boys in Tallahassee, are you going to tell me they don't believe they're one of the 12 best teams in the country?
Yeah, I believe they're one of the 12 best teams in the country. I think most people do. The problem is you weren't one of the best 4 teams in the country last year. And that just is what it is. But I think the reality of the situation is that nobody is going to go out of their way to help these two. And that to me is the point that you can't get away from. There's nobody that's going to say, yeah, you know what? We're going to pour all of our money into this. We're going to just go out of our way to make sure that this happens. For what? For what? I'm a huge believer when it comes to business, especially in college athletics. So you have to have motivation in all parties for something to happen. So the Super League, everyone's got motivation, right? We're going to open it up. We're going to make more money. The path is going to be clear.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense right now for whoever, like in the ACC, to follow these two because nothing good happens to them. It doesn't help them.
And again, one of my TV guys, one of my top go-to TV guys, made a great point the other day. Can you imagine being Florida State? You've got your governor, you've got your attorney general, you've got all of the assets at the university and the state level deployed to help you. You're spending tens of millions of dollars so that you can leave the ACC to join the Big 12. And I quite enjoy the Big 12.
Great conference.
I'm a Notre Dame fan. We don't win shit. So I enjoy the Big.
Notre Dame, our mother.
I'm not ripping the Big 12, but are you spending all of this money, time, assets, resources, humanity to leave the ACC to join? That you're not. There's no way that unless the SEC and the Big Ten tell you to pound sand, which I don't think they're going to. And then all of this says, Super League's not happening, which I think it is.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. Make sure you join us on Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 100% deposit matching. College football, the NFL are here. Training camps are open. Don't wait. Do it today. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. 100% deposit matching up to $100. Trust me when I say it is easy to do better than Jake on Prize Picks because, frankly, he never wins anything.
It's true.
I love Prize Picks, whether it's golf, whether it is the Euros, this disaster at the Copas last night in Miami. We'll get to that in a while. Any sport you love, Major League Baseball, certainly fantastic on Prize Picks. It is so much fun. It is daily fantasy at its best. Join the tens of millions in their community already playing daily fantasy at prizepicks.com. Use the promo code Monty. Who's first one in this morning? Let's go all the way back to the top, which is always Dane. Oh, little Jizzy is first one in today. Welcome, Jizlets. Pete Forte, hello. Ryan Smith's receding hairline. We show up. Hello.
We show up.
There you are. Midweek Coug. Hello. Big Blue Horses. Hello. Matt Ritson. Hello.
Morning hyenas.
There you go. Mike Smith, Mountain Mama. How dare the SEC come into Dallas, an ACC country?
Yeah, seriously.
Again, I think it's very interesting that you have the Big 12 in Las Vegas for not 1 but 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why are you not doing Big 12 Media Day in Dallas? That, for me, that's a hill you die on.
100%. And the only logical thought with it would be that, hey, we've brought in, Western wing of the conference here, frankly, from the Pac-12, and maybe you were just looking to satiate that. You were looking to say, okay, the first media day that, these 4 new schools are going to have with us, we'll do it in Vegas. But I agree, to do it for 2 years and not be in Dallas is a little surprising.
Mike Smith, the problem is Jason Scheer didn't not say it was a done deal, but those reading it and then passing it on, the info basically says it is. Jason Scheer, and again, I want to make sure I get this right. Jason Scheer said he was told by sources in the Big 12 that they believe Florida State and Clemson will join the Big 12 in a year or so, I believe is the exact verbiage he used. Okay. I can think of two universities in the Big 12 that we probably have not talked to about this at one time or not. Nobody has said, "Oh yeah, we're
all about it."
And I having sources at Arizona State, and on the Arizona Board of Regents, nobody there believes it. I just think it's a bunch of hyperbole. I think it's a bunch of people's opinions. I don't know who Jason Scheer talked to. I have no reason to believe that he would make up why would he make that up? Like, but what I'm telling you is it's a ridiculous belief. There's just no, it's crazy to me. That shirt, Monty, I feel like I'm at a theater watching the start of a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I walked in and I said, nice shirt, dude. I mean, I like the shirt.
It is what it is. Mike Smith, I like the shirt. Thank you. Are we really debating my shirt?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Shirts on the show are a thing, man. I've gotten beat over the head for my teal shirt in prior shows.
Okay. Well, I recently on our trip to Hawaii, I left a drawer full of polo shirts in Kauai. And the Weston was so lovely about it. But they threw them in a box and mailed them back to me. So yesterday being laundry day, all of my polo shirts are clean. I have like 30 polo shirts hanging in my closet begging to be worn. So, James, stadium guy and loves Buc-ee's. I got into an argument with a knothead on Twitter. Again, you guys don't get on.
Yeah, it's just a waste of your time.
Your life is worth more than whatever happens on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm telling
really
you.
Sad that it's turned into that too, because Twitter used to be a good thing.
But again, with everything that happened this weekend, have we not learned that keyboard warrior words matter? So when you get into it with guys on Twitter, or it's why I don't read DMs. It's why I don't read my notifications. It's why I don't respond to people on Twitter, because 9 out of 10 people on Twitter are just there to feel better about themselves. And usually that means that they're going to insult people and get into it with people. And it's really unfortunate, because I actually think there is a good community and there are good conversations to be had on Twitter, or X to be correct. But I just don't believe that is the norm anymore on Twitter. It's what got everybody off of Facebook all those years ago now, that you couldn't believe a thing you saw on Facebook. Right. And it's where we're going. It's remarkable to me that people think, oh, well, you won't answer me on Twitter. I'm going to message you on Instagram, or I'm going to block you on Instagram. I don't read people's social media is ugly.
Yeah.
Social media is negative. And the sad thing is, we have so many people that get validation in their lives on social media, especially in our business, in sports. And so many people are so interested in being right. And when you, like, how many times on the show have people come in the comment section, you've never been right about anything? Or on Twitter, you were telling me last week, some guy was like, you've never been right on anything. Here's all the things you're wrong about. And he listed all the things we were right about.
Yeah.
And to the point where everybody was like, well, actually, all those things happen.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. It is to the point where I was talking to a guy at a Big 12 university last week, and we laughed about it. Because and I don't care if you hate that I say it, we were so far ahead of the curve on Pac-12, the Pac-12 melting down, and we had the Pac-12 apologists apologizing to us.
Yeah.
Because of the things they had said about us.
Oh, and I just think that the thing you got to keep in mind with Twitter is it's just easier to hate. Like, people, like, it is the easy button to come in and be like, hey, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're not right about anything, nice shirt, you're an idiot. That's just what people do. Like, it's just,
you're
it's
fat,
our culture,
you're stupid,
dude.
Nobody likes you. Like,
when instead, if you would just say, hey, yeah, you know what, you guys nailed the Pac-12 situation. You nailed the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert thing with the Jazz. You've been pretty good on the Jazz.
You've been great on Big 12 expansion. Haven't missed,
right? Like,
look at this story with, and all of these stories about Big 12 expansion. Who told you Brett Yormark and his people were talking to Duke and Carolina? Who told you they reached out to the Virginia schools? Who told you that they reached out to Louisville? Proof is in the pudding.
We're not telling you we believe they reached out to them. We're telling you they did.
I got into an argument with a knothead on Twitter about this, and I was roasted for saying the grant of rights was ironclad. People don't like the truth.
What did you think they were going to say?
People don't like the truth. The grant of rights, call it what you want, the ACC grant of rights, they've been trying in earnest for 3 years. And we talk about tens of millions of dollars they've put into this lawsuit. Has anybody thought about the legal fees that Florida State and others have spent exploring the grant of rights and trying to find a hole in it? I mean, are they at $50 million? Has to be.
I mean, maybe we should start saying
Has
Florida
to be.
State's not paying the bill, their donors are, because you can't tell me it's just coming out of the budget.
And the thing I say about the grant of rights is if there was a loophole or a way out, they wouldn't be asking for unredacted copies of the TV contract. You would be out of it already. If it was so easy, do you really think the people at Florida State are stupid? They're wildly intelligent, very good at what they do, and they're paying the best legal minds they can find. And they're great attorneys. Their legal representation is fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you really think those people wouldn't have gotten out of that grant of rights already if it was possible? No, because if it was possible, they wouldn't be in court, and they wouldn't be asking about TV contracts, and they wouldn't be you wouldn't be talking about how embarrassing SMU is to the conference.
Yeah.
But you are, because there's no way out of that grant of rights.
Well, and I think that that's the hard part for the ACC is like the SMU thing happened, and then obviously Calford, and now you're here. And at some point, your reputation as a conference starts to come into question a bit. Like, okay, obviously, maybe the way people view the ACC right now is not the best, but I think the other side of the coin is, hey, you're still making the money. You've got a contract that says you're getting paid this baseline of money for what is another 12 years, I believe it is.
Correct.
So you have more security financially.
Which is what you opted into.
Yeah, you signed it not once but twice.
That's why you signed it.
That was the selling point.